I am here. Today is a stream day, and I am gonna paint a map. Although I should probably have done some research before. Um, Probably. And try to find different types of maps. You know, it probably would be smart to, like, know kind of what I'm getting into. But I think... I think it'll be okay. Because it's not gonna be like a... I don't know. I'm just gonna wing it and try to make it look cool, I guess. It's not gonna be like your standard map. It's gonna be more like a globe. Um, the looking up stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I'll figure it out. I will figure it out. Alright, let's open up the stuff that I need, which is a Purifile. Start the day with. Also, I'll open up the other thing so I can kind of show the vision, if you will. This is a thing that I've done. I like it, actually. It still is holding up. So that's a good sign when the thing that you made is, like, still a good representation of, like, a thing you kind of want to keep doing. A lot of times I look back at the old art and it's awful. Hey, Skittle, hope you're doing well. Hope everyone's doing well. Yeah, okay. So, my only fear is that I'm going to paint something like this, and then we're going to be like, this is the thing. And then as I paint on it, or then as I work on other stuff, and, like, you know, this is going to be a location on the map or whatever, that I'm then going to need to change too much because, like, my vision will change. I mean, I guess that's okay. It's okay to rework stuff. It's just important to start so that we have a thing. That's important. And I don't think the map's going to take long today because it's going to be more or less blank. So maybe we'll just do, like, I'll just talk through iterations and ideas around the map and then try to plan for... I'll use this stream to plan for next stream. And then that cycle will repeat. No. But yeah, maybe that. I don't know. Also, I have a webcam that's not turned on. I have a webcam that is flickering. That's annoying. It's because it's stupid. There's like a bright spot behind me, right there. And I think the webcam is trying to white balance or something. It's like trying to, like, balance the stuff, but my camera's too cheap and crap. And so it is all confused. And then it starts, like, making flickering. Or, like little waves in it. It's like, because it's trying to, like, balance itself. I think that's why. Because if the sun goes behind the clouds and it stops, like, shining in, I think you'll see it, like, those waves will go away. I think that's what we discovered last stream. This is very annoying. My. That is... I don't like it. That's okay. I don't need it to look nice. That's my stream. Aesthetics are not part of my stream. At least good aesthetics are not a thing that I tend to care a lot about. Okay, we are gonna make... How do I want to do this? I don't know. New. File. Maybe open? I don't know. Do we want to make a new file or not? Nope, not that. How big is this? 2,000 pixels wide. Wee! Siren, how's it going? Siren, today is kind of a world-building stream. It looks like the entrance to the void. Nice. Okay, so I think I'm gonna just make a new file. I guess it doesn't really matter what the size is. I mean, maybe. Do we still want it this aspect ratio? I mean, I kind of like it like this. Kinda. So okay, so what I'm doing, so I have this like not really world building. I don't know what you want to call it. The start of something. It's more of improv. Well, it's kind of what Ron does a little bit. I think maybe sort of. I actually don't know. But basically, my plan is I'm have like a world map, right? And imagine it being blank because I'm gonna make a blank world map. That's what I'm gonna do today is make world map. But I'm gonna more or less leave it blank, and then there's gonna be some basic stuff, like maybe like half of it I think is gonna be in light, half of it's gonna be in dark, kind of like this, I guess. I'm gonna redo this though because I want to up the resolution, do some different things, and then yeah, part of a world map. And then as I paint locations, this being the first one, I will add them onto the map. And we might come up with some sort of lore, maybe not, maybe, I don't know. Whatever helps, the stuff. And then this planet doesn't rotate. Correct. Yeah, tidally locked planet. So it's one side is facing it like you can think of it can still orbit the sun or it can orbit its light source, but it is rotating it's locked to the thing, right? That's our idea. So that one side's always light, one side's always dark. That way we can play with things like environments that are always night or always dark, or if we want to do I don't know. I thought that'd be fun. It'd be a fun way to do it. But anyway, so if I end up wanting to, let's say, add a location, the Good Right Hook, hello, how's it going? Then we can paint basically paint a mini version of the landscape. So whatever this would look like, right? We could paint it here, and sort of okay, well, this is the environment, and we do a little icon kind of, and obviously we'd make it better than this, right? And we would add this to the environment, if this is in the middle of the desert. Actually, maybe it would be here, right? Hypothetically. I don't know why I'm actually painting on this, because it's not going to stay this way. So maybe we add it there. And then this would be the first location on the map, and then I would obviously paint it out, and make it wherever I want it. And then I would add in, right? And so I would add to the map as I make paintings. So I probably won't make them at random, right? I'll make them there'll be maybe a method to it, especially if we have lore that, for example, if we decide that this is a magic source that's corrupting the outside, the surrounding environments, then we might go in and say, okay, I'm going to do a forest here that has this purple stuff in it, that's being corrupted, and then we do the river ways, and we do a little area over here that's being corrupted. I request we add a giant tree in the middle of the dawn dusk. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna have a world tree. It's possible. I mean, I feel like at this stage we could honestly do anything in the middle, and I feel like whatever we do in the middle is gonna be important. And actually, I should probably just, I guess I'll just redline on this, because this is not the map, right? I haven't decided that we're gonna have two random places this. I'm gonna redo. That's gonna be today's stream. It's just painting the map, or not the whole map, but some basic stuff. Maybe some basic geography. I don't even know if the geography will stay, right? Or if I make an island, unless I'm doing a specific painting for an island, I don't know that any of the islands have to be islands. We can delete them, move them, whatever. It's almost like I'm gonna have a Fog of War map, but as you discover it. Have you ever seen Google Earth maps where they haven't been updated, but then you go back and they update before your eyes and things move because buildings will appear, or where there was once a building, now there's a field, and it's it being changed in real time. It's kind of like that. I anything I do on this map is an old, outdated version, and as I paint stuff, that's me updating that location on with an image, right? And so I'll go in and things will change, I'll move it around, so that eventually I'll have a fully updated world with all these little spots. But yeah, anyway, this is not the actual map. This is just like a prototype. This is a thing that I did a couple streams ago, just that sort of is inspiring this whole project. Failure Moore, hello. Okay, Good Right Hook says, I love your blobby shapes. Look like mountains, oceans, and forests, and I'm still annoyed that my blobby shapes look like blobby little shapes. I mean, the blobby shape wouldn't look like a river or a mountain, I think, unless you had it in context with the other stuff, maybe? Like, if I just put this on the screen, I don't know if you'd be able to tell what it is, right? I think you're giving too much credit to my blobby shapes and too little credit to your blobby shapes. You request we had a giant tree in the middle. Hello, says Druxilla. Hello, hello. Oh, I had already named that spot between mountain ranges the Twilight Pass. Oh, this area. That's the... I mean, yeah, so we can, like, think... I guess the way that I'm thinking about going around it... I'm sort of thinking, like, stuff will, like, radiate out, and there will be sort of like my art process when I'm painting a painting like this, where I don't just, like, let's put a giant flying mountain, and then over here I'm like, let's put a river, and then over here I'm like, let's put a big tree, right? Everything that I do add sort of builds out from a core idea. So maybe I start with a desert, and I'm like, what if there was a crater in the desert? And then within the crater I can add something, and I might then go back and say, okay, well, maybe this thing was an explosion and it put these little spiky things out. And maybe the inside is one color, but the outside is a different color because, like, it's changing the environment, right? And so I'm almost working, like, every decision is based on the previous decision, right? And I kind of want the map to be that way, where, you know, the initial decision is going to be more or less that we have, you know, a dark zone and a light zone, which means, you know, that would follow that there would be a zone in between that's kind of a little bit of both, right? And that would just naturally follow. And so then we might start thinking about, like, what would happen geologically, and if you had one spot that always had light and one spot, you know, maybe there's a wobble to the Earth, so there's like an ebb and flow. So, like, it's not a, you know, it's not like completely static, but it's like a little strip that gets day and light. And maybe there's, I don't know, like, you know, maybe that's like a really chaotic area, right? Like an area where there's a lot of, like, predator prey type, or just a lot of, like, volatility or something. I don't know. And then from there we can start thinking, like, maybe as you radiate out from the volatility, right, it's more calm. So maybe if I have a spot, like, way over here, again, I realize this is only half of a planet, but if you were to go out to the end, right, away from the equator, or whatever you want to call it. Also, is the music too loud? I don't think so, but so maybe as you go away from the center, right, maybe there's, like, more calm areas, and so you have, like, the green, maybe not green space, but, like, you have, you know, nice farmland and old, like, fields and stuff, and then here you have, like, crazy volcanoes and, you know, I don't know. I'm just thinking of, like, ways to sort of elaborate, building out from a central idea where you say, if this thing exists, then the next thing must follow in some, you know, it must relate to it in some way. That way, by the time you get to the end, everything makes sense, right? So I think I'm going to avoid, like, what if I put a giant tree here, or what if I put a giant whirlpool here? I think I'm gonna want it to be more, like, have a reason for a thing. For example, is there a reason that the dark side of the planet would have certain things? Like, if there's a reason and it can be justified either sort of geologically or based on established lore or whatever we establish, that's kind of the route that I'm going to go, is like, but it's going to be very slow and incremental, right? So I think for starters, I'll just sketch. I mean, I could just paint around this. Nah, I'll not. I'll make a new painting. Because I don't think, like, I want one half of it desert. I think that I'll be honest, deserts are kind of boring. It's not a good reason not to add deserts, so I'm still going to add deserts. In fact, the first location is a desert that we did last stream, so we'll see how that goes. They're photographing the planet for 3 decades. It's really amazing how it's been changing. Yeah, totally. Have you explored the Google Maps time-lapse? I haven't much, but I have seen it. It is very cool to be able to go back and look at old stuff. Yeah. Looks like a mesa. A mesa is like, isn't that just like a... Well, I don't have a good spot to draw, but like, isn't a mesa basically like that? Like, you have a oftentimes like a dry, rocky environment, but then you have like a little rock tippy top. Isn't that what a mesa is? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not what a mesa is. I always thought a mesa is like that. Yeah, okay, yeah. It means table in Spanish. Perfect. Okay, then it is a table. It's it's like the raised flat area. Sometimes rocks will have things like that. Here, we can Google it. Google mesa, and then we'll just take an image, find an image. Okay, it literally shows us table. Mesa environment. Hey! Hello! Wait, what, hold on. Oh my gosh. What was that? Was that a raid or a... Oh gosh, I don't have the proper chat open. Oh no. It was a subscribe. Sir Ibram, how's it going? Thank you so much for the sub. Kind of like... No, so a plateau would be... Are plateaus raised? I don't know if plateaus are always raised. Plateaus are just like the flat spot. I think. You might be able to have like a plateau on a mesa. So when I Google mesa, these are mesas. I don't know if this is all... Sir Ibram, thank you so much for the sub. So why can't I find... What? Hold on. I'm losing my mind over here. I swear I had a PureRef file open. So that apparently is a mesa, but maybe it is also defined as other things. This is kind of what I think of when I think of mesa, is like these little raised areas. You have like, I don't exactly know what caused it, but that's a mesa, which makes sense if you're, or this is a mesa. Again, probably the same location that we're looking at, but you have these flat areas up here and it's like a little tabletop. This actually, to me, that one I never understood as a mesa. I think this stuff is the mesa. Like, this is what makes it a mesa as opposed to a giant rock structure. I think this area here is like the way that it's raised up and it has these little ledges. And so sometimes you'll have these flattening. I actually don't know. I don't know what makes this a mesa. All I know is they have these like defining feature of like this little tabletop-y thing. Anyway, that's kind of my only view of a mesa. Oh, you can't see. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness, pro streamer here. So these are things, not that. So this is a mesa, apparently. We could just Google what we're talking about. I could just find the definition. A mesa is an isolated, flat-topped elevation, ridge, or hill, bounded on all sides by steep escarpments and standing distinctly above surrounding plains. So basically, it's surrounded by rocks. The Google image for mesa is this. Or the Wikipedia image is that. So yeah, basically as these little rocks, it's like a little tabletop area. I actually don't know why this is a mesa. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but it doesn't. This feels like a separate, slightly separate thing, but maybe it's not. I don't know. It probably still falls within the... I also don't know if mesa is like a broad term or a narrow term. My hunch is it's kind of a broad term. Could, like, for example, could you have a plateau on a mesa? I feel like you probably could. A plateau. I think plateaus are larger scale. Like, a plateau called a high plain or a tableland is a highland consisting of flat terrain that is raised sharply above surrounding area on at least one side. So at least one side as opposed to being completely surrounded. So based on my very quick, just the difference between the definitions, one describes it more as like physical geography versus like a geologic structure, which is, I guess, kind of the same but slightly different maybe. Like, I don't know, I'm thinking one is larger and also has, it's not like the rocks are doing a thing, but it's more just like, an entire tectonic plate did a thing, or you have a large region that is different than another. So like in this case, maybe you would call this a mesa, I don't know, but my hunch is that on the other side there isn't an equal and opposite sort of like a dip. It's just like a sheer thing made it, but also it's flat, so it's like a highland specifically. It's not like, if there were other shapes back here, it wouldn't be a plateau. I feel like plateau specifically refers to the flatness. I don't know. What are we doing today? We're just talking, and maybe gonna draw some stuff. How's it going, Toshnado? Long time no see. Chrissy, how's it going? The language that came up with the names. What's it? Yeah, I think plateaus, from like, I know that there is like in the U.S. there's a region of something's plateau. I don't know what it's called, but it's like a massive area. It's like the size of like a state. I don't think mesas are that big. I think mesas are more like rock structures that I don't know. I think a lot of geological structures look the same. I remember we were talking about there was a thing, the difference between like a cape, a peninsula, a cove, or all these different words, and a lot of them look the same, but they're formed for different geological reasons. And so I think to us normies, right, we look at these and like, well, these look the same, but like there's probably differences in how they're formed and why they are the way they are, or the scale, or something that is not as obvious to us dumb people. No offense, but when it comes to, I feel like geologists and people who figure these things out probably have more insight. I don't know. I don't know the nuance, but plateau is just the flat part. It's why we use it as a term for leveling out. For example, my art progress has plateaued, but it does refer to something that has gone up and then leveled out. Yeah, is that true though in geological terms? Would you call anything that's just a big flat area a plateau that goes up and then flattens out? Like, I don't know enough about like the technical, the sciencey side of it. Like, yeah, I think in layman's term it does just mean flattening out. And I think in the layman's term, you could call any flat geologic structure, oh, look, it plateaus up there. But I don't know if that technically puts it in the classification of a plateau. It might. I think it's more specific than that, is my hunch. But I don't know. I feel like if there was a geologist in here, anytime a big flat area came up, if we called it a plateau, they'd be like, no. Like, I don't think that's technically... I'm pretty sure there's more... Is it? Chrissy says, yes, a large flat area on top of a piece of land that is sharp raised on one side. Okay. If it does that, it's a plateau. I'll take it. I'd love to take geology class, if only a greater appreciation of geological timescales. Yeah, there's so many different kinds of geology classes, though. There's, like, the really, like, soil science type classes where you're focusing on earth, rocks, things that are like on a small scale, and then you have big time scales, and I feel like it's just it's a big topic. I mean, there's reasons it's an entire like, you know, field of study. Yeah, different types of rock and yeah. Whenever I see a big rock face in Yosemite, I can't even comprehend how old it is. That's why we don't use the term plateau metaphorically unless it's in the context of something rising first, such as my weight journey was increasing. Yeah. No, I get that it has to rise first. I was just wondering, like, if you were... Like, I get that it has to rise first, but, like, does the reason that it rises, or, like, does that matter? Or, like, the type of environment that it's in matter? I don't know, because I know with a lot of geology can get quite specific, but it kind of sounds like it doesn't matter. But, yeah. Hey, Omi, how's it going? Hey, Joe, how are you doing? I am doing well. Metamorphous igneous sedimentary, and maybe others. I don't know the other kinds. I don't remember all the kinds of rock. I don't think I remember them all. Open. Okay, so we're gonna make a new file. I think this is a good size. Do you have a story behind this painting? Yeah, so this is going to start no, the story is I just started painting something and it kind of looked like a planet. And then is it metamorphosis or what do you call it? Something like that. But anyway, yeah, no, so the story behind this painting is basically I wanted to paint like something that kind of looked like a planet, or it started to look like a planet, so I continued it. And then it kind of looked like a fantasy world map because I started adding like locations on it. And then that gave me the idea. Metamorphic. There we go. Metamorphic. Thank you, Tosh. Tosh, yeah. And then a butte is just a flat-topped hill, different from a mesa because a mesa has a sharp, almost 90-degree rise. Gotcha. So can you call any mesa a plateau also because it plateaus? Or does one override the other? So is a plateau a very generic term and a mesa is a very specific? Or the other way? To be a plateau, it has to be quite wide. Okay, so there are specific requirements other than it just flattens out. Nice story. Okay, so sorry, I didn't continue my story. I got distracted by me reading chat. So anyway, I started painting a planet, and then I started adding little icons, and then that inspired me to make locations, and then I will add them to the map. So this was the first painting after I had this idea, and so this is not the map, but this inspired me to make a map and then add locations on it. So I am going to today paint a map. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet because I haven't figured it out really, but very similar to this except minus any detail. It's going to be more or less just a base, and then I'm going to add this to it, like a little mini, you know, symbol. Like it might be this big, right? Just a little tiny thing, or a location that kind of is recognizable from a distance. And then that's going to be that. And then the next painting I do, I'll add that to the map. And I'm going to keep trying to go back and forth and, like, build out a map. Okay, so. Let's start. I think I'm going to more or less do the same thing. I wonder how accurate I should be. Like, for example, is this a... I don't know. Do we want... I don't know, actually. Like, ooh, that's lagging. Like, do we want to do that? Or do we want more zoomed in? I mean, I actually like this scale. This scale is kind of... Do I just copy this whole thing? Just literally copy my own image, and then we'll just paint over it, maybe? Also, why is this brush so laggy? What's going on? Okay, so maybe we do that. Do we want this to be... Now, I don't know about the sky, how I want that to work. Again, this whole thing's going to be a work in progress. I've sort of come to terms with that. I've decided... I do think I want the middle part to be... So I want half of it to be more or less in light, and half of it to be more or less in darkness. Which will be nice, because then I can do, like, nighttime scenes and stuff, and dark stuff that doesn't have to, like... it'll be location dependent, kind of, so, like, a dark spot's a dark spot. And also, I can do, like, fun glowing things in the darkness over here that might... I don't know. I think it'll be fun. But it doesn't have to be water. It could be any kind of environment, right? It could be... I don't know... Yeah, I think we'll do this. And then I'm thinking this middle part, between light and darkness, can have all sorts of environments. So, like, it can have maybe, you know, some foresty spots. That way we have, like, a strip of all of it, right? So, like, maybe it'll have some forest. And then maybe it'll also have some, like, desert. And maybe the planet... Here, maybe we make a new file. I'm trying to think here. Like, this is going to be really, really loose. But if this is like the night and dark equator, right? I'm just calling it the night and dark equator. The part between the two parts. What if it was like there's areas where, like, the forest goes from, you know, one spot. So this would be like the forest. That's not how you draw a forest. Let's just paint it in green, right? So one spot would go from here, and then it would go into the light, but it's still the forest, right? And then the other spot might be like the plains or something, and it would be a, you know, I don't know if it's going to be this like straightforward, or maybe not a plain. It's like a desert, and then this part would be, right, that would go into the light. And then maybe you'd have like another spot. I don't exactly know how it's gonna work, but I'm thinking I want the various biomes to have like eight. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to bridge, right? Maybe not all of them bridge. Maybe we just have some like a forest over here in the dark, and then also a forest over here in the dark, and they're distinctly different, right? It does. I guess they don't have to be like crossing that light zone, right? This being the light zone. I mean, there's no reason they'd have to cross it, right? Some of this stuff would cross. Or maybe... Or, if I wanted to set it up, I could do some things where, like, there's a mountain range in the middle that, like, creates a wall, essentially. So, like, when the sun is coming from this direction, it will, even when it's like, even though the sun is locked in one direction, it will still never pass the mountains. And so there's actually just an abrupt change. So like this would be the thing. So maybe there's like a mountain range, and then there's a mountain pass where you have to pass through if you want to get from one area, half of the planet, to the other half. And maybe this spot is, like, really, really dangerous. Or something. I don't know. That's not the story of what how is One Piece set up? Do you guys know? Because they have like their Grand Line thing, and it's like this area where they have to go. I don't remember how it works, but anyway, yeah. So maybe there's like a mountain range cutting through, or something that makes like one side distinctly different than the other. Tosh says, haha, I want to roam around your paintings in an open world RPG. That'd be cool. So yeah, maybe I do put like a mountain range in here. And I mean, I guess I kind of already had one, right? Like, I sort of put one here. I mean, I actually do like what I've painted already. Do I mean, I don't stick to this one, do I? I mean, is there any reason not to? I guess I can think about it more. It's a little boring here. Like, I don't have... Like, if I want to do a dark forest, for example, is there any reason... I guess this whole thing is pretty, like, small scale. And so the rest of the world, right? We could always, like, do other versions of the map, like, rotated. One Piece just has 2 belts in a cross with the worlds divided into north, south, east, west. Oh, gotcha, okay. I didn't know that. That makes sense. That makes it very simple for storytelling. Makes it easy for the viewer to keep track, I guess. And also just, like... Yeah, it can make distinct differences between regions and stuff. That's always fun. So I could put, like, a mountain range here. Also, let's get rid of the volcano for now. We haven't actually decided what any of this stuff is. And this, the big vortex in the water, that doesn't need to be there. I mean, we can leave little hints, though, just, like, as stuff. But I'm trying to think, like, so if we have a half light and half dark... I mean, maybe we don't have to do that. I don't know. Oh gosh, it's hard making choices that might matter. I mean, I could also do something like this, where the light and darkness are represented this way. So that the features are going one... Ooh, okay, so that's like One Piece-esque, kind of, but not really. So, like, you'd have 2 hemispheres of, like, geological features. So think, like, you know, water and not water or something, right? You'd have 2 hemispheres, whatever they are, right? Again, we can decide how they're designed, but distinctly different. Maybe one is, like, greenery and life, and the other is like rocks and desert and weird and water or something. So maybe it's like rocky and void of life, right? Hypothetically, imagine this is what the hemispheres look like. Maybe there's some islands in here, right? And then in here, maybe there's also some islands, or ponds, rivers, stuff, right? Maybe there's some mountains and stuff. But then the planet is divided not this way, but then it's divided by our tidally locked thing this way. Right? So now you have forest in the light and forest in the dark. So imagine if this were like an MMO, right? You would have the night lands and then the dark land, or the bright lands and the night lands. I don't know what you want to call it. The day stuff and the night stuff, right? And then the night stuff would just be like venturing further into the area. So like if you're in the forest, you're safe, and then you cross over into the Nightlands and you're you're less safe. And then over here, you're like deep in it. And on the other side, right, back on this point of the ball, or on the globe, right, would be the scariest, because everything is just like super dangerous and or maybe it doesn't have to be. Maybe in the day it's scary. No reason it has to be scary at night. I mean, this goes against my initial idea of like this would be the boundary would be the scary part. I think for like RPG wise, it's not as exciting because you would want the boundary to be like, you wouldn't, like if you started in the day spot, right? If you started here, you wouldn't really want this to be the most dangerous, because then how do you get over here, right? Like you would want there to be a progression that goes from easy to hard. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make a lot of sense to put the character like, unless you had like factions that are like, you know, the undead live in the dark area, and then the humans and stuff and the living live in the light, and sort of they're both essentially living in this world independently, and they can't really cross over because this is the danger zone. And so you have all these like terrors and you know, it's volatile right here, right? And so you can't cross over from the night to the day, but within their little areas you have like safe zones. But that's not as fun, right? Then the fairies live in the danger zone. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know exactly what would live there. I'm just thinking things that live that are maybe they're allowed to cross over to night and dark. Things like maybe not werewolves. Yeah, maybe like I mean, I'm thinking like things like, are there any creatures that can go into the sun but only for a temporary amount of time? Like they can ease in, but like if they go there too long, then it's bad, and so they have to go back. And like creatures that can sort of go between a little bit, but not too much, right? Stuff like that. Well, vampires can't go in the light at all, though, right? I was thinking vampires, but like most brands of vampires can't. I mean, they can, but not really, right? Not like, I'm thinking like, you know, a day's travel or something. They can, though. Like, enough to, like, live? Yeah, like some kind of bat or owl. Exactly. Something that's like owls, for example, can obviously survive in the light, but they're nocturnal and they don't, right? Like owls obviously can be out during the day, but you aren't going to see one, you know, traveling great distances over the light typically, because, you know, they like that. If they hunt at night, why would they live in places that are never night, right? That just doesn't make sense. But they could still like cross over. So if you had like a fantasy creature that can go into the sun, but maybe they will get hungry after a few days and they have to go back to the night because they hunt at night, then you would have this boundary zone of like, you know, trade or whatever it is that would cross sort of freely into these areas. In some vampire lore, they turn into dust with the sunlight. Yeah, in some vampire lore, it's instant. Others, it's like they burn, and then I don't know what, or like, but they, you know, just like, not instantly, but like it's like a, you know, bad sunburn or something. Some lore, they just be without powers. Oh, okay. That makes sense. I kind of like that. I mean, we don't need to come up with the creature lore, but I do like... I mean, I'm just trying to think of, like, some sort of foundational principles of our world, right? Like... I don't know. I'm using you guys as a sounding board. But yeah, any sort of vamp lore like that's super vast. Obviously, in Twilight, they can go into the sun. Right? They just don't like it. Or wait, I forget. Don't they just sparkle in the sun? They can go in the sun? Wait, isn't Twilight's thing, like, nothing happens if they go in the sun, right? They just out themselves as vampires? Like, the only difference between them in the sun and not in the sun is that they look different? which I think is hilarious. I mean, it's not bad, to be honest. If you were a creature, if you set up the world to be like, you know, these creatures are hated for whatever reason, then you'd essentially be outing them by them being in the sun, which is kind of, I don't want our world to be like essentially just racist. That's stupid and lazy. I feel like when you set up an entire world revolving, that's basically an analogy of racism. So I don't want that. If we come up with lore for our world, I'm vetoing that idea right from the start. So no creatures that the only downside of them being in the light is people can tell that they're the quote unquote bad side. We're not doing that. I mean, if they drink your blood and kill you, it makes sense. Yeah, but like they don't all. Yeah, whether the stereotypes are sort of kind of maybe justified or not, I think that's just still lazy. I don't know. Like, I think it's fine to have groups and like, you know, like try. I mean, if I were writing a story, right, and you wanted like enemies and stuff, it's fine to have like groups that make themselves out, you know, that have differing morals or guiding principles that sort of set them apart and have feuds and, you know, with another group of people or something. But to make all these people bad because or the vast majority of them, I don't know, it just feels kind of like a boring way to set it up. I feel like there's better ways to set it up, sort of from the ground up, that don't need to rely on just like, oh, these people are bad because they're different. But then, oh wait, there's this other group of vampires that actually aren't like the other ones because they've learned how to live this other way, and I don't know. Kind of, yeah. I don't know. I don't think that would be the route that I would want to take it. But who knows? Maybe when you start from the ground up and you start building out a world, you end up, you do end up with that. I'm thinking about your world from a thermodynamic perspective. What happens when only half of the world gets sunlight? How does that energy get to the dark side? I mean, yeah. So that's, I like that. Um, I mean, yeah, it could be with like rivers or I don't know exactly how all that would work. Some magical energy. Maybe that's the thing, right? Maybe the magical energy flows from like the light side is like the weak energy, and then it, or maybe it's the strongest in the light and then it flows into the dark. So you have like some rivers. And does it, I mean, it would just go through the ground though, right? Like you would just have the thing heat up, and then yeah, it would have to like, I don't know how that works. Yeah, but that's a good question. I like that. Massive energy rivers flowing into the dark. Yeah, yeah, very hand wavy. Yeah, it'll sort itself out. But big energy rivers flowing into the dark, and maybe the, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that would just be calling for a story of like the people in the light sort of taking more of the river, and then the dark is getting starved of the river. I don't really, yeah, I don't know how that would work. Yeah, I do like the idea that like there would be um places in the dark that are like hot spots. So you'd have a lot of glowy, you know, like glowing stuff, right? Like things in the dark that are little. Again, I painted these rivers as like glowing rivers, right? I mean, that initially I did anyway. I don't know if it reads that way anymore. But yeah, like maybe it's this energy stuff, and you have these little energy hot spots that kind of bubble up, little like magic springs, kind of little areas, and that's where the creatures sort of gather. And maybe in here it's very like spread out, so you have the weak energy, kind of like the yes, the whole place is a little warmer, and whatever energy is created from or gathered from the sun, I assume it would be from the sun, but like, you know, whatever magical energy is I mean, obviously it would just be heat in our world, but you know, we're assuming there's some magic that like sucks the heat up and does some, I don't know how that works, but hand wavy magic, if you will. But like, because it would be evenly spread out here, right? You could argue that it would be very weak, but as all the energy sort of flows through the earth and it accumulates, kind of like the runoff of like a you know, if you have a field, right? Right, and you have all the water running downhill, and you know, maybe you have little slopes here, and by the time it gets down to the bottom, right, you might have like a spot where all of this water is flowing. I didn't do this very well. Right, you might have a spot where all this water's... Okay, I drew that terribly. Hold on. That was the worst drawing I've ever drawn. You know, you... Right? You might have something like this where the water, regardless of where it lands, it'll eventually make its way... You know, if it lands here, right, it'll eventually make its way down here. Right? If it lands here, same thing. It'll make its way down here, and then it'll meet up with the stream, and eventually all of the rivers will, you know, that's how rivers work, right? With rain. But I'm imagining that with some sort of like sun energy magic, right? Where like the sun will hit the big wide area, but there's no rivers, right? No, not stairs. I'm just talking like land contours. I didn't draw the contours the way that contours are drawn. Sorry. But like the way rivers work, right? Except imagine that with like light energy, where if it's spread over a large area, right, there's like, it's very weak. But if you were to concentrate all that and push it downstream, you could get like flowing areas of high concentrated energy, right? And that's what like would flow into like the dark areas, right? And so you'd have these little these springs of like concentrated energy, and maybe that's like, you know, supplying entire civilizations in the dark area, whereas in the light area, maybe it's like not very strong. There aren't really these high concentrations. It's pretty weak, and so everything's a little bit tamer. You don't have like crazy powerful monsters and stuff because it's just very distributed. So that could be like the geological explanation. Very hand wavy, I know, but that would be the explanation of why the light side that gets the most energy is not the most energy dense area, because it hasn't, like, it has to accumulate, and you don't get the opportunity when it's all spread out or something. I don't know, because it goes into the earth and then into underground rivers of energy. Yeah, the physics of the world don't necessarily need to create conflict. Somehow it's in equilibrium and we just have to explain it somehow. Yeah, and I don't think we need to, like, fully, totally... I think as long as there's, like, some vague idea, like, for example, what we just said, it doesn't have to be, like, an obvious thing, right? Maybe they're underground rivers and they pop up, and then you have these little, like, geyser areas of like this pure energy that has been sort of condensed through natural processes in the earth. But like that would just be an explanation of why maybe you don't see that in this area or something, and you do in this area. The energy charging locations are not energy storage locations. Exactly. Neck in the clouds, yeah. Good morning, Alfred. How's it going? Maybe the mountains would only have snow caps on one side. Well, so yeah, we were talking about that, but I don't think. I mean, if it was perpetually dark, it would probably be colder, right? presumably. But I don't think I want the whole dark spot to be just like cold and icy. You know what I mean? Like you, and I guess if maybe if it were cold and icy, right, you would get rings of like non-icy spot, right? So you'd get like lush environments, right? You'd get areas around these like these would be little oases, right? You'd get little dark areas, not dark areas, but like if here's the energy, right? You'd get little forested areas where things grow in the dark, right? Because they have all this energy, but they'd be different, right? They wouldn't just be green, they might be purple or something. Whatever color is, you know, growing because of energy, not because of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis, right? So you would get like forests and magical forests, you know, created from the flow of these springs and these energy areas, right? So you could still have forests and stuff. You could still have plant life. It would just look different. It would be in the dark. And yeah, you'd have little pockets of areas. Maybe this one would be in the water, and so maybe you would have ice here, right? But around here would be more like, you know, melted ice because it's hot. Again, it doesn't have to be hot. It could just be energy that's changed some way, right? You'd have it would be different. Maybe it would be more. I don't know how it would work. I mean, probably this is why I'm talking through it, because it gives me ideas as I talk, and then as I talk, we can start like hopefully by the end, I'll start to have like, okay, like are these rivers above ground? Because I'm not trying to think of like the actual locations. Like I don't care where this is. It doesn't even have to be there. But it's more, this is giving me ideas for future paintings. But we can start by saying, hypothetically, what if, okay, this image that we painted last stream, right? Here's a dense energy ball in the desert. So maybe this is like an anomaly, and these things do exist in the desert, but maybe when they're in light, they dissipate or something. I don't know. So like, maybe you do get these energy things in the light, on the light side, but maybe they're more volatile. Like maybe these are like stable, like things sort of, you know, like flow into these areas, and these are like the stable, these are like the oceans kind of. But occasionally you get like a puddle, right? You get like a puddle after a big rain. It sort of condenses locally, but it's volatile in the sense that it's not going to stick around forever. It comes and goes, but maybe with a lot of what do you call it? Damage. And maybe that's what this is. Maybe this is like the volatile energy somehow. It's condensed, but for whatever reason it's bubbled up here. And then it does a thing, and it does its energy stuff, and then it goes away. Or maybe it stays for whatever reason. Again, magic. Hand waviness. I don't know. It's fun. I like thinking about this stuff. I don't know if it makes for good streaming, but it is fun just to like talk through how things might work. So yeah, I'm gonna paint this real quick. So that's just like a big dome. I like to imagine there are creatures whose migration plays a part of the energy. Ooh, I like that. Okay, that's great, Tosh. Okay, so hypothetically, what if you have these? Okay, because we already drew this, right? And I've decided that this is going on the map. And this clearly looks like energy, right? Very clearly, this is the energy we are talking about, because we've decided that we have this energy. We don't know what this is, so it makes sense that this is that thing we are talking about. So, what if these things do appear on the light side, but there are creatures that like harvest it, like birds or something that go into it, they suck it up, and then they migrate, they migrate essentially into this other area. So yeah, maybe you do have like these courier animals going from one side to the other that are infused with this energy, where they can dissipate, where it's like they can dissipate it into the cold. Because if it's too hot here, it can't. It's like sweating in like a high humidity area, right? Where just because it's high humidity does not mean that it's raining, right? It does not mean that there is a lot of water around. It could just be that it's very humid, but when you start to like sweat, you can't get rid of it, right? It's just like, where does it go, right? It's not evaporating, it's just sticking to you. And so here, if you're thinking of like a heat analogy for that, right? This is like, the heat builds up and the energy can't go anywhere because it's too saturated. So it needs to go over to the less saturated spot where then it can be dissipated. And so you have these little pockets that are here, but then they can sort of redistribute. So you could have like a migration creature or something that absorbs the energy and then goes to the dark side, or so that could be a cycle. Druff said you can have rivers that transport the heat cold throughout. Yeah, exactly. We talked about that. I was using like an analogy kind of for like the magic of like the sun would give energy, just energy, not in this case not heat. I mean, it would be heat, but like some feature of the planet would turn this heat into like magic. But so it would be, it'd be saturated here, but then rivers underground, maybe they're underground, then they spout up and you have these little like little geysers of condensed energy in the Nightlands. And then in here you'd have, rivers, I guess, that flow from one area to the other mostly. Which I guess would make sense that these then would be a lot of water. So yeah, it could be underground rivers, it could be above ground rivers. I do like this. Oh, let's paint this. Let's add the thing to the map first. Because I think even this map will work, although it's maybe a little small on scale. I don't think literal, will you have a day night? No. Nope. So this is going to be, we've decided that I think this is going to be tidally locked, because that just sounds fun. And maybe we will. But maybe there will be a little bit of day-night cycle in here, like in this middle area. I should probably paint this thing. Like, I don't know if I want this band to be the bridge between night and day. I guess it probably will be. And I'll probably have to redo a lot of this, because I'm just kind of painting right over the top of it as I'm exploring ideas. But, No, it's fine, because we're talking through, right? We're planning. And so this will help me give direction. I still don't quite know how I want to set this up, but yeah, like if this is the night side, right, and this is the day side, I think it's going to stay that way. I don't think there's going to be day-night cycles, but I kind of imagine there's like a zone here, right, where like this is night and this is day, but in the middle, it's like, imagine the planet is just like wobbling, like a little bit as it orbits the sun, right? So you'd have the sun, right? You'd have the planet, and it would orbit the planet in some way. But it wobbles. So you'd have like this side would always be in the sun, but you'd have this little ring, right? You'd have a little ring that like in this area, maybe it changes. So you have like, 5% or something of like a change. So, but it's still like right along the edge, you'd have like some fluctuation between, it oscillates. That's the word I'm looking for. So you'd have like a moderate zone, right? You'd have a little area here that's like not super cold, but not super hot. Or it's not super light and not super dark. Sometimes it's day, sometimes it's night. It would be more like Earth, right? There'd probably be some area in the middle that is sort of right in between. the Goldilocks zone, if you will, of light. And so you'd have like, yeah, you'd have it just be like this area. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. A twilight zone, if you will. Oscillate. Yeah, oscillates is the right word, I'm pretty sure. It's the wobble. A twilight zone. We've cracked the case of what of the Twilight Zone is. The zone for painters, always golden hour. Well, I'm thinking more that you'd have like, you know, a day on, a day off, right? You'd have like a day of, if you're in one location, that location might be night, and then it would be day, and then it would be night, and then it would be day. Now, there probably would be some spots, because, like, right along the edge, right? So, like, here, for example, I'm just putting a random spot. Right? Like, maybe today it's light, but it'll still be dark tomorrow, right? There would be no spot that's always dark, or always light, or always twilight. Because if once you're in the spot that's always twilight... No, it would never be always twilight. Any spot, like... I guess there would have to be a spot, right? No, you could go from dark to twilight to dark to twilight. Right? Or dark to golden hour, but never fully light. And then some spot would be twilight. Yeah, it just would never. You just have a big enough range that there's never any spot that's fully in light or fully dark until you get into the fully light or fully dark. Yes, it's called Alaska. Exactly. Alaska's a good example. Alaska. Like, if you went to some regions in some parts of the year, right, yes, it will always be maybe twilight or always be golden hour kind of thing or always be night, right, depending on when you're there. But it will never, no one spot is always the same because it moves. We thought Mercury was tidally locked with the sun for a while, but eventually learned better. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Are there any planets that are tidally locked with their sun? I actually don't know. I mean, not like in our solar system. I don't think that's true, but I just mean in general. Do we know of any that are or aren't? I don't even know how we would know. I'm sure people can figure it out. People much smarter than I am. I don't even know if that works that way. But anyway, I think it's a fun idea for like the start of a world building thing, because then you have to solve the problems that arise. I don't know. That's always been my favorite kind of like design, I guess, is just like impose a problem on yourself and then solve it with hand wavy magic or whatever rules you allow yourself to use. Like, here's this problem, right? How do we deal with the half the planet being hot and half the planet being cold? Where does the heat from the hot spot go, right? I mean, it could just evaporate, right? It could just go back out into the atmosphere. So, I mean, we totally could just have a cold spot and a hot spot. It doesn't have to, like, you know. At some point, you would just have things cooked, and then it would be like a desert, and it would reflect if they go off planet. But I think I do like the idea, though, that there's, like, some additional factor in the sun. It's not just heat, but it's like there is a little particles of magic, and this magic is too weak to even detect from the sun, but in concentrated amounts it can accumulate and, you know, become a real thing. And that will go from, you know, that's not evaporating. That will sort of flow into the rivers and accumulate in spots of low saturation, right? It will eventually make its way into the dark spots, or the low saturation. Is the Twilight Zone inhabited by humans? Yeah, I'd like to think it probably is. I mean, assuming that there's humans here. I don't know why there wouldn't be. Yeah, but I imagine the Twilight Zone is, like, dangerous, kind of. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how that would work. We could have the Twilight Zone being like the what do you call it? the nice zone, but I think it's. I mean, we don't have to have like a dangerous zone and a non-dangerous. I'm just thinking like there would be a lot of activity, right? Because you have it's more moderate. You have creatures passing through, right? Potentially either trade or whatever. Right? We already mentioned like a hypothetical migration species that goes from this spot to that spot. So like there's a lot of traffic, right? Which means a lot of volatility, a lot of multiple things. Maybe they're all, species living in harmony. It's all perfectly great. So it could just be like there's just a lot. It's like a metropolis type of thing, like very nice. A lot of plant life, a lot of life in general, right? So you have a green area. So no, maybe not the danger zone. The danger zone, yeah. Twilight Zone, the danger zone, yeah. But no, maybe it's maybe this is like the nice spot, right? Like this is it's kind of like a paradise. You have these rivers but the rivers aren't too saturated. According to Wikipedia, there is a list of bodies that we know are tidally locked, not all of them locked to a sun. Mercury is listed, but with a caveat. Yeah, I'm curious, what about locked specifically to a sun? Because, like, we know that, like, the moon is tidally locked with the Earth. But, like, that doesn't have ramifications of, like, half the planet being hot all the time. I guess I'm more curious about, like, the heat and what that does to a planet. Does that do anything? I mean, probably not. Just eventually it would just reflect into the atmosphere, right? Or not the atmosphere. I mean, I guess if it doesn't have an atmosphere, then it does for Mercury. Oh, is it? Okay. Oh, interesting. So what's the other side of Mercury then? How does that... Because Mercury is like crazy hot, right? Is the whole planet... I mean, I guess under certain amounts of pressure, like maybe the distance to the sun and the heat just wouldn't matter. Wait, Mercury's... Wait. Oh, no, I'm thinking of... Wait. No, Venus is the closest to the sun. Yeah. Because I'm thinking, I guess it wouldn't really matter. Like, if you could have something be in the sun, like, having light from the sun, but also just not being hot because it's super far away and there's atmosphere and other stuff. And, like, it doesn't have... Just because something's getting sunlight doesn't mean it's super hot, right? How dense the planet is and how dense the atmosphere is and what it's made of absolutely would have probably a bigger effect on the heat. So it's not like this has to be a barren wasteland of desert hot, right? I think that's going to be something that I have to learn more about, but also I think it's kind of a fun, like, my initial thought is like, oh, well, if it's always in the sun, it must be really hot. Well, no, not necessarily, right? That's not true. And so I think that would be a fun, like, stereotype to break, kind of. Like if I'm designing a planet, instead of doing the easy, obvious thing, which is hot equals sun, dark equals cold, it doesn't have to be that. Could be, but you can still have, like, warm regions and cool regions, and, like, maybe there's areas underground that are creating pockets of heat, and so you have entire, like, warm oceans in the dark and cold oceans in the light, right, for different geological reasons. And, like, it's more complicated than just, like, this black and white thing. So I think it would be a cool idea to, like, set it up in a way that has reasons for the things, even if they're not stated explicitly, as long as I'm aware that there are reasons that they're different, and then I can, write them down and come back to them later if I ever want. Or just accept it as this is how it is, and then, You'd have crazy weather in this zone, where the very cold air... Well, that's the thing, though. It doesn't have to be very cold and very hot, right? Like, I mean, yes, typically the sun would heat up the air. But you could, in theory, have other... I mean, I guess relative to each other, right? Given that it's, like, the same planet, I guess you probably would. But, like, it doesn't mean that this is, like, must be too hot for humans and this must be too cold for humans. Like, relatively, you could still have, like, a planet that is very hot. Like, overall, a very hot planet that still has half of it always in dark. And yes, maybe the dark side would be colder, but it doesn't have to be, like, icy, right? Like, it could just be, like, less hot than the other hot side. But overall, like, it's like color temp. It's like temperature relativity in color, right? Just because this is a warm color, and this is a less warm color, right? It doesn't mean that, like, you would freeze here, right? Because, like, this is still, like, it's like an orange, right? We're literally painting with orange here. So it could just be, like, less hot, right? It's fun to fill in the plot holes later. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I just like talking about this. I mean, this is kind of what, yeah, to me, this is just fun. But yeah. Hey, Zenes, hello. How's it going? To throw in another cool word, it's called Intertropical Convergence Zone. Ooh, fancy. The ICZ, for short. Sounds very intense. According to NASA, says Chrissy, some binary stars are tidally locked to one another, and evidence is building that many planets beyond our solar system are tidally locked with their stars. Okay, cool. Like a permanent winter in Norway, but you would lose some color variety on your planet. That's true. But that's, I mean, not necessarily though, because again, we have a magic system, right? This is where we are trying to solve the heat problem, right? So we don't have to have a turbulent zone of like crazy intertropical, you know, turbulence or whatever, because we're solving this hypothetically with hand wavy geology magic that we have a filtering system of from the high energy side to the low energy of like these magical rivers underground, some of them, and they'll come up and they sort of dissipate that energy, right? That energy is being dissipated into the dark side. So but it's more concentrated, so you have maybe like hot spots kind of energy. You have, again, you have creatures, maybe like the creatures are hot-blooded or something, and so they take on that energy. So it doesn't have to be the environment itself, but it could be the you know, the plants and animals are like these creatures that are like absorb the heat. They run very hot. I don't know. I'm just making this up, but there could be we have ways that we can solve this problem that isn't just like, you know, one side has to be cold, the other geothermal stuff. Yeah, exactly. But geothermal, but also magic, right? I want there to be magic. Magic's fun. Magic is cool. And you get to play with, like, glowing things and fancy, you know, like, yeah. Superpowers and stuff. Like, I don't know. I feel like if we're going to have a planet, we better have magic, because it's neat. It also can solve our problems that make no sense that, you know, when we get ourselves into a geological bind, it can solve our problems for us. But those problems spark ideas of how they're solved, right? Like the idea that, was it Drefzilla? Drefzilla, did you recommend the idea of like a migratory species where it goes from like the, you know, it transfers the energy from like the high area to the low area, which I like. I like some sort of species that, like, you know, if you have like a, here, I'm gonna draw it, but also I should probably res this up. Nope, that was, oh, Toshnado. Okay, it's Toshnado. But yeah, so that, right? Like, that's an idea where that would only come about if we gave ourselves this problem, right? We got ourselves into a bind, and Toshnado got us out of the bind. And so I like that. I think that's a cool way of, for me, again, that's my favorite way, I think, of, like, world, I guess you could call it world building, right? Where you You're basically giving yourself a problem to solve. Rather than just being like, wouldn't it be cool if this existed? Like, well, why? Why would you think of that thing, right? I think the best ideas do solve problems. Now, again, the problem doesn't have to be... it doesn't have to be a known problem, right? Like, if you were making a movie, right, you wouldn't have to know that this is a problem that the planet has of, like, you know, like you needing the energy to go from one side to the other. You could just make the creature and show it doing its thing, right? It could just be existing in its ecosystem, and problems would be solved by the world builder, but you don't have to, like, make it a point of the story, right? It is the way it is, but the way that you got there can still be through solving these problems. And I think that's a lot of times in design you do that, right? Like you have these constraints, like, you know, these people need, you know, there's wood doesn't exist on this planet and they need things to build their buildings out of. What do they use? And also stone isn't available. And so, oh, they have to, you know, make a material out of something or other. And then you have this thing, and then you just show the world that way. And you're like, oh, look at this, them being resourceful. They're manufacturing this material and they're building stuff out of it. Like, what a cool idea, right? It's like, well, yeah, but it came about because you needed it to, right? You had these constraints that forced you to solve this problem. And it might sound fantastical and what a cool idea, and it makes it feel like it came out of nowhere, but it didn't. It came out of just constraints that clashed, basically. I don't know. I guess I've always loved that way of, like, thinking about building of ideas and building up, because it sounds so... Like, that's the thing. We were talking about this a few streams ago, right? With Drefzilla and some other people, where a lot of times to the person coming up with the idea, it doesn't sound that creative, because it's like, that's just the only solution I could think of, right? Like, we had a solution, we ran with it, but to someone who doesn't know what the problem is, it might sound like a super crazy awesome idea. Not saying my ideas sound that crazy awesome, but like it's like not knowing the context, and so the outcome looks really cool. But if you like that kind of stuff, have you read any Sanderson books? So, oh my gosh, Sanderson. I really tried. I can't get into his writing style. I've tried like 3 different times to read Sanderson, and I don't know what it is about me. I think it's the fact that I also, I prefer audiobooks, and for some reason, I think I would enjoy Sanderson's stuff as movies. Or if I read a synopsis beforehand explaining, like, the world just as, like, explaining it, and then I can actually appreciate it when I'm in the story. I think my issue is that, and I actually had this problem with, like, Lord of the Rings a little bit, from, like, the books, where there's so much, like, dense information, like, info dropping, that it's hard for me to, like, focus on everything, or when there is something that's explained, if they don't repeat it enough, I'm gonna forget by the time it's relevant. And that's really hard for me, especially with, like, an audiobook. It's like I'm getting distracted because I don't know what to focus on. It just, I don't know, it's never quite landed with me. But I do feel like the worlds are awesome, and it's probably very cool, and I think I could get into it. I think it just might take me a few more tries. Nerf Joe. Hey Elsa, how's it going? Something with soup. Wait, Tash said, so, like, coolant, basically, I love it. Yeah, I think so. Okay, Alfred says, what if, like, on Earth you have underground geothermal rivers and pools that run under the crust, but the lava is this blue stuff and very cold? Yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking. It flows from pole to pole and transfers heat from the hot side to the cold side. Then this flow would be crucial for survival of life, the flow of life. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and you could have like, yeah, exactly. I did love the Way of Kings, and then I got lost somewhere. But I think it was the Way of Kings that I tried. I know a lot of. Again, I'm not hating on Sanderson because I've never read enough of it to have any qualms with the story or any of the stuff at all. My issue is just I couldn't get like. It's like I don't know if it's an attention thing or I don't know. It's just it was very dense with random stuff and without a ton of explanation, which made it hard for me to try to follow, even know what is important. Like they would introduce a type of character, a species, or a thing, and they would just say the name, and then they would. I assume he would explain it later, maybe. But like I would then forget what it was called, and so the next time it was mentioned, I'm like, is this new or is this the same? I can't remember if I've been introduced to this thing or not. Am I supposed to know information about this thing or not? Because I can't remember because it was just like a foreign word to me. And I think it would work a lot better. Like, I think as like a movie for me, and I know this is going to make me sound dumb, but like at least with a movie, you have like the visual cue, right? So like I'm not going to remember, I'm not going to forget if I've seen a creature before because I've seen it. Like I know that I've seen it. If you show me an alien species and then show me it 2 days later, I'm like, yeah, I've seen that before. I don't need to know its name, right? I don't need to know its name. I don't need to know specifics about it. It's just the vague idea of it. For some reason, that was really, it didn't land that way with me in Sanderson. I didn't feel like each time something was mentioned, it felt like it felt like I had amnesia and I had no idea what was happening. And I kept being lost, and I was like, I can't even follow the story because the world building is confusing me. I'm sure it makes great sense, and once you get into it, and actually, again, I mentioned I had this problem with Lord of the Rings, but once you're aware of like how the story takes shape and kind of what is happening and where it's going, then I can actually just focus on the details and not really have to worry about the story, and then it becomes easy, right? This actually happens a lot for me in fantasy books, where if I watch the movie first and basically have like it tells me the plot and it tells me what's gonna happen, then I can focus on all the juicy details without getting lost because I don't have to also track the story, right? It's like you've told me the story, now I can focus on the details. Or tell me the details, then I can focus on the story, right? It's a... And actually, I think it's a similar issue that I have with some convoluted movies, like that one director who made Inception, where all of his movies are just like these playgrounds of a cool idea, but the plot oftentimes is just like unnecessarily like just trying to make it complicated for complicated's sake. But like you have this entire awesome world, let me spend time in it, right? Like this is one of my biggest gripes with that kind of storytelling. It's like you have such a complicated and amazing world, just tell a simple story. Give me a really linear story and let me explore all the details of that story. Let me go on an adventure and sort of just, you know, enjoy the awesome world you've built, right? Making a complicated world with a complicated story just overwhelms me. I don't know what it is. It's like it makes it hard to enjoy the world because you're so focused on the story, right? Or it's hard to enjoy the story because you're so focused on the world, right? All those movies like Tenet and Inception and what other movies has that guy made? Like this is why I know people like to hate on these movies, but this is why I actually really like the Avatar movies, the Blue People movies, is because the story is so straightforward. You actually get to enjoy the world. You actually get to look at the stuff and see the spectacle and just appreciate like, oh, look at this awesome place. I want to be there. And it's not being bogged down with like multiple timelines and wishy-washy, weird, crazy stuff that's happening everywhere. It's like, no, just which movies? Which ones are the hold on. Christopher Nolan, right? That's the dude? Yeah, Christopher Nolan. Basically, any movie Christopher Nolan makes has awesome... Oh, which movie am I praising? Oh, I really enjoyed just the Avatar movies. The blue Avatar movies. Yeah, yeah. I really enjoy them because the story is so simple and that's good. I think that's exactly what a movie that is introducing you to a new planet with a new world and with new rules and a new, ecological system and new creatures and new everything. Like, if you're gonna introduce us to an entirely new world, don't make the story overly convoluted because then it gives us time to actually enjoy the world, right? If we were so caught up in like crazy political, Game of Thronesy type crazy stuff of like, oh, this kingdom is warring with this other kingdom who has a feud with this other one that goes back years, and this is a new feud, and like that would just be too much. Like, I don't care about that stuff yet because I'm not even in the world. Like, let me enjoy all the cool stuff that you made, and that's what they did in the first movie. I think the first movie, I know people love to trash on it because, oh, it's like Pocahontas or Gone with the Wind or Dances with Wolves or name other movies that are basically the same plot. Sure, fine, it's the same plot, but that's good. I'm arguing that that's a good thing. We want a simple plot when you have an entirely new thing you're plunging us into. Anyway, that's my rant for world building. I like that. I am a fan of that style. I know some people hate it. Sucks for you. So yeah, the Witcher game is like that. Yeah. Oh, super overwhelming. Oh, gotcha. I didn't know that. See, that sucks for me. I feel like if you're gonna add a new world, I don't want to get caught up in. I mean, I think it maybe in video games, it's different. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, any movie also in theory could be complicated because then you just make it longer. There's a word for that, and it's called trope. I'm confused what you mean by that. You mean using a thing over and over again is called a trope? Yeah. Are you saying specifically that I'm not exactly sure what the context around that is. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind having certain types of tropes. Yeah. Tropes exist to serve the goal of allowing for the story to develop in ways because you understand that. Yeah. Yeah. Having a simple story or having tropey stuff in movies is fine, and it's good. I like it to some degree, right? And I think it's really easy for people to like find that thing as like, oh, that's the one part that's so overdone, and people will always complain about tropes. But in this case, at least in the Avatar movies, I think having I don't even know if that was a trope. It's just a story that's been done before. I guess you could call it a trope. I never really thought of it as a trope, but it's sure we can call it a trope. But in that case, I think it's a good one because it's specifically allowing us to actually enjoy the more complicated, or not necessarily more complicated, but the other stuff, the new stuff. Anyway, yeah. So I like that. I like those tropes. Now, I don't like all tropes. Some tropes are just dumb, and they serve no purpose other than what feels like lazy writing. Because like they're not innovating in anything, and all they are is trope. And it's like, well, where's the new stuff? So yeah, just because I definitely don't like all tropes, but there are. I think just because something feels like, just because you see a pattern in something doesn't make it bad, right? And I think that's my rant about movies and shows and stuff. Like, I think, also, like, for me, I do see a lot of the patterns in it. I see a lot. Internet went out. Oh no, wasn't my stream, was it? No, my stream's still kicking. Okay, what am I doing here? Oh yeah, I was gonna make this little thing. Oh, I need to res this up because I can't even paint my little icon thing. So let me do something here. I'm going to just merge these. And I'm going to make a selection. I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to make this real big. Hopefully this doesn't kill my computer. Wait, which one was I working on? Not this one. What was I doing? No! No, no, no. Do not save. This is the one I was working on. Copy. Oh, 6,000 wide. We can do 6,000 pixels. I hope my computer doesn't die from this. World map 1. There we go. Joe, what is your playlist? I like it. You have to only have one classical playlist, so this is new. This is I don't know. It's an open world fantasy exploration music playlist of 59 hours long. I can link it. Share. Copy link to playlist. Here we go. I don't actually like this song. But yeah, this is the link to the playlist. It's not my playlist. Okay, anyway. Okay, so let's do this. And now we can paint on here and actually make this look like the thing in our image. So for those who are curious what I'm talking about, this is going to be our thingy. This is going to be our location. So let me delete some of this stuff so I'm not lagging like crazy. Copy, paste. Okay, so this I'll just make it really small. Why can't I put it over here? I don't know. I probably don't need it there. I don't think this big box needs to be here right now. We don't have enough YouTube chatters for it to matter. Oh. There. So this is going to be the location on our map right here that I've decided. And I needed to res this up enough so I can actually add some detail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want it to be somewhat you know, somewhat accurate. I realized also after the fact that that I don't like the composition here with the white and dark. It kind of has, the pattern is too like weird and blobby. I should have made it more zigzaggy, so like all of this should have been light and this side should have been dark. But anyway, that's a thing for another day if I ever want to correct that. The thing I'm telling myself is that I just need to make choices, and then if I ever want to come back and edit them, I can. And this will be the dark stuff. These are literally going to be dark shapes. I'm trying to make it also in perspective. So, like, this is the side that we can see a lot of. But just something like that, where you start to see... And also there will be ridges here and Also, I don't know what's going on with the sun. I mean, I guess there's still shadows, right? Just because this side is in the sun doesn't mean there aren't shadows, because, like, things will still be tall or short or whatever. Especially here, right? There will be more shadows. I don't know. I haven't quite figured out how that works. Something like that. You want to play D&D again? Me too. I have on the a week from tomorrow I'm playing D&D. On the 7th, or a week from tomorrow. What am I talking about? A week from yesterday. On the 7th, I am playing D&D. Which is my D&D campaign's continuing. But yeah, no, I want to play D&D again too. OMG, I had a vision of magic fireflies in your world that live off the magic, maybe the bottom of the food chain, and that's how other animals... Yeah, stuff like that's great. I like that idea. I mean, I'm also imagining if you have an animal or a creature or something going from, you know, high energy to low energy, right? Migratory animals. Like, what happens when they get over here? Do they die? And there's a whole cycle of, you know, animals picking apart their corpses and stuff. Maybe they're hunted by humans and other creatures. You know, maybe some of them are hunted by people or other animals, and they're, you know, food chain, you know, things, you know, like there's the whole cycle of life, right? Things poop in the forest and other things, flies and stuff, and so, you know, who knows, whatever, just anything that, like, the energy is dispersed, you know? And so you have, you know, you have creatures, little critters that'll come drink from the ponds, right? Of these little springs. And then they, you know, fly away and or swim away or whatever, right? And then those things are eaten, and there's a whole, like, food chain, right? So, yeah, you'd have the energy dispersing. For sure. But yeah, half the planet's gonna be in dark, half the planet's gonna be in light. That's kind of what I'm going with. And then of course you'll have, yeah. I think that'll be fun. We'll have little deserts over here. I'm gonna make a little wavy desert, and I'm not gonna paint like the whole desert, right? But I am gonna paint outward a bit. What about on the dark side, they have 5 moons. Ooh. Yes, you do get powers by drinking that stuff. Yes, it is some magical energy. It might... I'm not going to go too much into that because I don't have an answer because I haven't thought about it. But I am pretty certain that, similar to what Siren just said with the 5 moons, although I don't know why 5 and any of that, like, the details, I don't want to be just pulling a number, but... Maybe we'll have 10. Who knows? Maybe we'll have 1. I don't know. But the energy part of gaining powers, or whatever, I do want there to be different kinds of energy. Because I have always liked that in magic systems and stuff, where you have, like, you know, certain creatures, if, you know, like, if all you drink is the, you know, like, through these geological through these processes, right? Let's say there are plants that do things with this energy, and they do a thing, but maybe they filter out some stuff, you know, kind of like in life, you know, you have photosynthesis, you have different processes happening, osmosis, all these different processes, right? Certain things are excreted, certain things are consumed. The makeup of a thing changes because of that, and then you have a source of energy, right? Different systems and different processes will happen that change this energy and this magic into different things, right? So think of just, like, this energy might give you... I'm just making this up because I don't know, but, like, maybe one energy is, like, strength, and one energy is, like, speed, and, you know, could be, like, stat-based. I have no idea. I don't want to think about it too much right now until we get there and start, you know, having more paintings to inspire this discussion. So I don't exactly know what I want to do with that, but I'm pretty certain I want more than one kind of energy. You know, maybe it all starts as a similar, you know, it all starts as your basic plane energy, but as it's used, you know, some creatures will drink from it, and, you know, over the life cycle of the creatures it'll be different, but maybe some of it will seep into the soil and the stones and the rocks. That'll be a different kind. Maybe you have, like, you know, plant life, which is somehow fundamentally different apparently than non-plant life, so like than animal life. And so maybe the plants do something with it that turn it into another kind of energy. So maybe there's like different kinds in that way, right? I don't know. Lots of ways that could be. Let me take a look at Sahara Desert satellite image. I just want to know what it looks like from above. Extremely uninteresting. Are you kidding me? Okay, that's not the Sahara Desert. What is this? Ain't no way. Okay. Oh, this is kind of cool. A view of a rocky region. That's not really what I'm looking for. Is this real? That's pretty cool. Wait, is that... Let me Google that word. Jabal Arkanu. Jabal Arkanu. Rock rings. Oh, they're real. That's cool. I didn't know that. Is this... Hold on. Oh. It's a mountain in Libya. This is the wiki photo. That's pretty cool. Five moons symbolizing different blessings or energy boosts. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we need five. I feel like those kinds of things, like the specifics, might bore out of, like, for example, I just started naming things like, you know, the plants might transform the energy, the animals might transform the energy, maybe you have, you know, the earth itself transform energy. What else do you have transforming energy? Like, you know, maybe as many things as we can think of to transform the energy, that's how many we'll have, right? There's no reason to, like, just pick a number. I want to have a reason, right? I guess I want to do, like, a bottom-up design, right? Where we're starting just with the base earth, a few random things, right? The random thing being, like, the sun, the whatever, the tidally locked thing. And then from there, we're building out. So yeah, I like the idea of different. I mean, yeah, maybe there's different planetary bodies. Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe it's tidally locked, but maybe you have moons, and then the moons can occasionally there's eclipses, and so the eclipses could be a way where you still get some hypothetical nighttime in the daytime, or in the light area. So you could still have, like, you know, again, this is kind of like, I know that's a pretty big thing in fantasy, is like, oh, there's an eclipse and it gives power, but maybe the eclipse isn't, you know, like, it wasn't there in that movie Pitch Black, right? Or Perfect Dark? No, Perfect Dark was a video game. Pitch Black, where there's, like, the moons and the planets, and there's that time where it's the total blackout, and, like, it's really dangerous because the alien creatures come up from the ground, and, like, it's the only time that they can go to the surface because it becomes dark, and at all other times of the day it's always in sun because there's, like, a bunch of suns, and there's only one time when all the suns are blocked out, and that's when the aliens come out and eat you, and that, you know, that's, like, it was surprisingly, it was pretty good. And like that's a good example where like just because you have a planet that is always in sunlight doesn't mean you can't make exception. I mean, I know theirs was like, you know, the orbiting bodies that they all went below the horizon, but in this case you could still have moons that occasionally, if you know, if we need to get ourselves out of a bind with a side of the planet that's always in sun, we could have moons that occasionally will pass in front of the sun and block it out, and you know, we can have momentary darkness, and that's fine. Let me sit up straight and hydrate. So yeah, that's you know, that's always a thing we can sort of pull out. I don't know if we need to decide on how many moons. I don't know if the moons being tied to magic is necessary. I mean, we already have the light being tied to magic, so I mean, it wouldn't be a big deal, I guess. Um, but you know, again, if there was like the light is being tied to magic, and then we had an eclipse or something, maybe that would cut off the magic for a bit, and you'd have some sort of issue with that, right? Maybe these civilizations, if we really got into the weeds, right, maybe they'd plan for it, right? It'd be like an earth, you know, if you knew an earthquake happened once every 10 years, you might plan around this thing, right? Build your structures different, whatever. So maybe your society would be arranged in a way that would be prepared for these black energy blackouts, basically. Maybe these moons could cause. Yeah. I mean, that would make sense, right? If we're gonna have a planet and you want tides, and yeah, there could be moons. But I don't know that we. I don't. I feel like that's so far. I'm not convinced there's a reason that we need to get into like too much of the moons, because I don't feel like we can just accept that there's probably a moon that causes some sort of tides, and you know, most of the normal geologic features that we have on Earth that are caused by moons, and you know, most of that stuff's gonna exist probably. There's no reason to think it doesn't. I don't. I mean, we could just throw in you know, if we ever want to throw in a wrench, and maybe I learn more about some of this stuff, then we can always add another layer to the top. But I think right now I have more than enough uh, to sort of work with in terms of like figuring out how things actually work. And like, you know, trying to figure out the yeah. The moons could also. Oh, I already read that. It's where Fremen live. Freemen. In this, what's Fremen? I don't know what Fremen is. Uh, Alfred Afterburn says you can see the intertropical convergence zone very well in Africa by the green belt around the equator, not unlike your twilight belt. Let me Google intertropical convergence zone. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you have the dry deserty part up north, and then you have the or something like that. I think I know what you mean. I'd have to look at a map that shows it better. I found this image, which is pretty cool. So you have like, yeah, but this one doesn't show the difference of like how the geology and how the plants and stuff look. But yeah, I do like that. Oh, the Fremen thing was the Dune reference. The people who live on Dune have dwellings in these rock oases. Google Maps, you see it clearly. Satellite, gotcha. I'm afraid to open anything up like that though right now because my computer already struggles with too many things open. But that is good to know. I will have to look into that. Okay, so here's our first structure. Again, this is very, very loose. We could probably zoom in and just like detail. I don't want to repaint the entire thing, though. Like, the goal isn't to make these super... I mean, I guess I could make these pretty polished. There's no reason not to. Like little icons. Now, the question is this going to be official? I think it will. There's no reason not to. Again, I can always redo these. In fact, the map... I probably in the future will not... You know, I'll probably just have some base like this. Also, like, we can think about, you know, why is it this way? Like, I suspect I will repaint these things a million times. I actually want to get rid of these, though. I know it's going to make the map look worse. I will keep the glowy spots, but I want to get rid of most of the... Anything that looks like a spot that... Like, this... For example, this ring of rock here is a thing where it's like, oh, I want to see a painting of that, right? If they're, I mean, maybe these rocks are big enough that they're not. But like, if there was this little thing, like this purple stuff here, that to me looked like a spot that you would be like, what does that look like? And I want any spot that you look at on the map. I'm thinking you know, like this, for example, if this looks like a volcano, then I don't want it on my map. Not yet. Because anything that looks like a geological location that is like of interest, not just like a basic forest biome or something, anything that looks like it's of interest, I want to actually have a location. So at the start, it's going to be very simple. You know, I guess maybe mountains are an exception. They're kind of a biome, so they kind of work. They can be a little different. But mostly I want it to be pretty plain, and then we can figure out how stuff goes from there. I'll just have a mix of places. You know, if I want like an icy location, I can decide how the icy stuff is, and I'll build it up over time. That's gonna be the plan. And of course, this is just 1/4 of, not even quarter, 1/8 of the planet, roughly. Wait, somebody do the math. How much is this of a planet? Would this be roughly 1/8? What are we seeing? We're seeing the top part, like this, of a planet. That's roughly like the quarter, right? This is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. This is roughly a quarter then? Well, minus this part. So if we extended it down, actually it's probably less than that, right? Because what we're seeing is this. Except we're not seeing the whole thing, we're seeing this. So this is like 1/8. This would be a quarter, right? So if we saw 1/2 of 1/2 of the map, right? 1/2 of 1/2 would be a quarter. But then 1/2 of that, which is kind of what this is. So this feels like we're seeing, yeah, because this would extend over here, right? And then you'd see this, and that would be a quarter of the map. So yeah, this is about 1/8. So this is not like, you know, we could technically make another maps at some point and extend it if we ever wanted, and then like continue this. I don't think we'll ever need to. 1/10. Probably not. I don't know, maybe. I mean, I would guess about 1/8. 1/2 of a quarter. Split a sphere from the top view in 5 pieces. Is this split in a 1/5? I'm not sure why this would be a 1/5. I mean, it's maybe roughly. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard, right? Because like if you... I mean, I guess we could do this, and we could try it. We could see. So I'm thinking here. I guess this is what I'm thinking, right? I mean, okay. This might be more. This might be more than a less than a 10. Yeah. Okay. Now that I'm adding it. Yeah. Actually, I you know, this might be. This might even be less than that. Yeah. Yeah, this might even be less than a tenth, because this is only half the planet, right? Roughly speaking. And so we'd have this shape. I don't know. We could duplicate this. This is going to be very loose, but roughly speaking, let's just fill in the map. This is 2. And then, of course, we'll have to double all of this. I don't know. We'll just stick it in here. And go like 3. This is a very poorly done example, but well, we'll call it that. Of course, the gaps are going to be filled in by our overlap. This is not accurate, but this is... Whoops. What's happening here? Oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna extend it. I'm not actually extending. I'm just trying to get an estimate in my brain. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, about 1/10. Yeah, you're right. It is 1/10. You're right. I didn't think it would be that much. I thought it would actually be a lot more. Yeah, no, that's about 1/10, right? You have these little areas here that are, you know, we can rearrange this over here, and, you know, I mean, this, you know, this stuff would go here. You know, maybe even more, right? Maybe even 1/12, right? You'd add another portion here plus here. Like, you might even be able to get in... This might only be 1/12 of the planet. No. Yeah, I was trying to do rough paper back to the napkin calculation of how much of a planet is this. And roughly speaking, if we were to project this, and again, it wouldn't be perfect because this is curved. So actually this is less space than this space because this is closer to us. So that would just fill it up probably on its own. So it's not perfect, but yeah, we could call it a 1/10 or something. Anyway, so basically, I guess the point I was trying to make with mentioning that this is only a small portion is that we don't need, like, every single biome in this spot, right? If there's like an icy planet, we could technically, you know, I do want to fit stuff in here, but yeah. I think it'll be fun. This is honestly the map part of it is gonna be a small part of stream. Because most of stream's gonna be this kind of thing where we're just painting it like normal, and then we're gonna add these locations to our map over time and just try to build it out. It'd be fun to have like it's. Oh, take care, Toshnado. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you'll be back soon. Hope to see you soon too. For anyone curious, I stream 3 days a week. I'm not ending right now, but I stream 3 days a week. Mondays, which is today, Thursdays, and Saturdays. You can draw a couple of lines of the same length from the surface to the center, and the angle on the 2 sides will tell you exact amount, right? Kind of. It's sort of hard because it's at like a weird... It's hard to know the same size if you're trying to like split it up because these are getting thinner and thinner, right? Or as you go around here, right, these lines are gonna be closer and closer. So like you're always guessing, I think. Is that what you're saying? It's just hard to know like how much that we're looking at. Maybe that's not what you're talking about. I'm not quite sure. There's probably different ways to measure. But when you're dealing with stuff in, like, perspective and things are getting smaller and bigger and, like, you don't know the rate of drop-off. then it's hard to tell. Because, like, this area, we don't know how big it is, right? And so is this area the same area as this? Or is it more like this, right? We don't really know the rate of drop-off here. We could probably figure it out with some lines and stuff, but it's basically guesswork because we haven't decided any sort of concrete thing ahead of time. So I don't know if there's gonna be an exact number, but yeah, this is just... Yeah. Thanks for the follow. But yeah, I think it's reasonable to say this is only about 1/10 of the planet. That's a good number for now, and maybe we can revisit it later. You know, all it would take is for me to do this, and now we've made it, like, much less than 1/10, right? Or, yeah, even less, right? Because we're extending the you know, we're just flattening out this line, and now it's massive, right? If we make it even flatter, this thing is even more mammoth, right? Like, at some point, it's like, oh, here's the horizon, you know, and now it's just a teeny tiny tilt, and it would be even bigger. So, like, I don't think this has to stay this way. We can change it, you know, wibbly wobbly magic. We can change and distort the reality as we paint it and decide on what we're doing. If we want to expand the scope, we can. I'm not too worried about it. Also, different maps could have different projections, and so this maybe is just a very warped view. Woo! Study done and saved. Time to pull out the sketchbook for some fun. Nice. Oh, speaking of for fun, Chrissy, at some point in Palia, I totally want to see the fiery horse, because I haven't actually seen it. I think I've only seen it on, like, the update thingy, but I don't think I've seen a single person in-game with it. So at some point, when I have energy to actually interact in a game. Crystals and rocks. Oh, what are you studying for this month? Asks Drufzilla. Crystals and rocks. Nice. Really? Oh, I haven't. I have not seen one yet. I've seen, like, a weird blue thing. That some sort of blue horse. Maybe it was the same, but blue? I don't know. I also haven't been looking. I avoid people. Nice. Yeah, I want to do that, but I'm not. I want to first get more sorry, I randomly started talking about a video game, but I want to get more, like, farm or ranch space, so you have to, like, unlock different, like, stable areas, and I just want to upgrade it first before I start doing that, so I can... But yeah, I think I will start to do that, because I would like to also. Yeah, I don't know yet where the blue comes from. Have you seen the blue one? It's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure it was only in passing, and I think I was lagging, so it kind of flickered past my screen. So that might be part of the reason why I'm not exactly sure what I saw. But I'm pretty sure it was like blue and white and black. Blue, white, and black or something. Okay, so it definitely is blue. Yeah, okay. Anyway. Sorry, it didn't mean to change the topic into Palia, but that's a game I've been playing. This does not look good right now. Now, it would be cool if in the future, again, I may be getting a little ahead of myself, but maybe, you know, turning this into, like, a thing where you can click... Like, the goal, kind of, it will be that, you know, you will be able to click on this, and it will take you to the location, right? That's kind of the goal for those who are just popping in and don't know what I'm doing, is as I paint these environments, I'll stick them on my on the map, and I will be able to maybe make some sort of interactive thing where you click on it and it'll take you to it. Maybe there will be some lore, you know, a blurb. I don't know. That also not worrying about that yet. But for now, it's just map tied to location. I'm just trying to accumulate stuff, and I'm just kind of building up. Right now, the map's more or less empty. There technically are placeholder things here that I can figure out, but They're very, very loose. This is not looking circular, though. You're in the official Paleo Discord, so I'll go digging around there at some point. Yeah. I'm kind of treating it like I'm going to experiment with that. I know people love to min-max that kind of thing, which honestly it sounds fun, like the breeding of the animals and trying to get all the traits. I only just now started doing the I mean, I've only been playing for like 3 days or 4 days, but there's the speedy, whatever you call them, the riding, the cookies that make the horses get like riding traits. I'm just trying to get a horse with riding traits right now because I don't even have that. I'm just using the basic thing. I literally just started ranching, so I don't know anything about it. It's weird. Like, also, I think I lied on accident. I think I said my bug catching was like 160. It's not. It's only 138. I realized after that I had misspoke. It was higher than I thought it was, or it's lower than I thought it was. Breeding was kind of boring to me until the horses showed up. That was fun with the default. Yeah, so I mean, I didn't even start until the horse. With the default horse, you can get anywhere from light color to palomino. Do a brown with the dark mane. They're fun. Yeah, I have a pink horse, or like it's like a purpley, pinky, matte looking color. It's like this color of horse. I have a horse of this color. I don't know what color that is. I'm not using it, but it exists. It's a thing. It's like a weird purpley grayish color. It's not very purple. It's not like a bright, right? It's just like it's like a pinky purple color. Kind of like a like a grayish pinkish color. Almost like chalky in color. Wait, so how do you... Okay, sorry, I'm random Palea conversation here. How do you get the Phoenix ones? Is that a different breed of horse? So it's not even in the same type. It's not just like a different trait. It's its own animal. I assume. How do you get those? I assume it's just at a higher level. Which is annoying. The leveling is so dang slow. Okay, I'm trying to think about how to paint this. How big is the epicenter? There are 2 ways. The free way is to complete the Beanie quest in the Highlands, so you can also spend real... Yeah, I'm not spending real money. Okay, yeah. So all the artifacts and stuff. Okay, I'm pretty close to that. In fact, I probably have enough to just trade for the rest. To write it, you have to purchase real-world money, or writing license with real-world... Oh, that's dumb. Well, I guess I'll just have them in my farm, and I won't write it. That's okay. I don't spend money on that game. I mean, I'm not against it. I just don't have money to spend on that game. Maybe someday. Maybe I will. It would be nice to support them, because I do like the game. And I hope the game continues, so I should probably spend a little bit of money. Out of obligation for spending money on my hobbies. I should not be spending this long drawing a stupid icon. These are too evenly distributed. I let myself spend money on Palea once every 2 to 3 months or so. Fair. Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of, you know, like, spending money on a free game that you spend a lot of time in is totally valid. Like, I think there's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like it's hard for me to justify it when there's probably things that aren't video games that I should be spending money on. You know, so like, yeah, it's, yeah. Doesn't look like the place that I made. This doesn't look the same. Maybe it's close. Is the sphere symmetrical? Did you measure? Which sphere? This sphere? What do you mean symmetrical? I mean, we're at a weird angle. We're not seeing the, you know, we're not seeing the equal half, right? It would be like, I think what we're looking at would be like this. I think that's what we're looking at. No, I mean, it's not perfect, probably. Probably not. We can change it. I can do more measuring later. Like I said, if I want to flatten this out, I can. Right? If I could flatten it that way. As long as the arc is consistent, we could just treat it as a continuing arc. Right? Obviously, the more curvy it is, the more accurate it will need to be. Or the more room for error there is as we curve it. And yeah, I can use a tool to measure it. Of the horizon? Oh, you mean this? No, it's probably not. Yeah, it does look a little funky, doesn't it? But no, I haven't measured that. In fact, I don't even know if it's gonna go that way. It might go that way. I haven't really figured that out yet. But yeah, no, that's a good point. I should probably do that. I should scale it up and draw the circle and then draw the equator. You know what? We could do that right now. We could do that right now. You meant the line dividing the planet and the sky. This. Okay, well, here, we can do that. Let's copy this again. Or no, not like that. The horizon. You just mean the edge. Yeah, this part of the planet. Gotcha. Whatever you want to call it, yeah. For me, when I say the word horizon, I think of, like, the horizon, like, our eye line, which is, like, probably here. Right? Because we're, like, looking at this, so this is where it's... Like, technically, I guess this is going over the edge, but, like, I wouldn't... This is kind of the horizon of the planet, but, like... This is more just the edge, right? It's a horizon... I mean, it is, kind of. If you zoom out, though... I mean, it doesn't have to be, right? Like, a lot of images of Earth... Let's see if I can draw this. A lot of images of Earth taken from, like, the ISS or slightly further out, they are circular, but this is not the edge. It's what you're actually seeing is this, right? So, like, if you're close enough, you'll see this, because if you're close enough, you can't see past. But it doesn't mean technically it's a horizon because it curves out of it. Yeah, I guess technically it is a horizon, but, like, I think it's not implying that it's, like, half of the planet, right? I think that's I don't know if that was an implication there, but sometimes if like, you're not, you know, this might be the equator or whatever, the halfway mark. So as long as it's a circle, right? Like, and if you were farther back, then you would see more of, it would be closer to being, right? If you were further away and you were taking a photo of this, then that would be closer to half. But generally speaking, when you're seeing like a planet like this is not the halfway mark even. But no, I don't know. I haven't measured it to make sure it's a perfect circle. We can do that now. We can do that now by doing kind of what we did earlier. Let's do that. And we'll just find the right curve. Yeah, I think I misunderstood. So what we can do is we'll just take a circle tool. How do we make a circle tool? The pen tool, right? No. Does anyone know? Not this way, I don't think. I mean, this is a way. But the... Whoa, 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 whoa. The problem with this is... Oh, it is like this. We'll just keep making it larger until it fits as close as we can. There we go. Close enough. So no, it's not perfect. We could shave off some of that edge. We could shave off some of this. I mean, we could probably make it even bigger though. And it would fit better. I think it's pretty close. It's probably not perfect. It probably could curve down a little bit on this. Again, we could still probably go bigger. And the bigger we go, the flatter this is going to be. There we go. So, there's our planet. And then this would curve here, I guess. I don't know. I mean, this honestly is oblate spheroid. I mean, this is a sphere now. This is a full-on sphere. No oblateness to it. Or spheroidness. It's fully spherical. Actually, to be fair, what we're probably seeing is like this, right? Like, we're probably seeing a zoomed-in well, again, I guess it doesn't matter, right? This could be the zoomed-in version. But yeah. The reason I'm nitpicking that this is what we're seeing is because this might feel like it doesn't curve enough, but that doesn't have to be, because it doesn't have to curve to 90 degrees, right? It could still be relatively flat, because this circle that we're looking at, in theory, could be this circle, right? Where it doesn't actually curve that far, because it's not the whole planet, right? So this could just be a portion of the planet, right? Like a... So this is why, like, when, you know, there's part of me that thinks that these should turn, like, really steep so that we can see, like, the edge here. I don't think we need to see that. So this is still, like, a bit of a projection, right? So I'm gonna be very loosey-goosey here and just say it doesn't matter and it's good enough because it matches. I made the arc consistent enough. Again, is it perfect? Probably not, but close enough. Yeah, just book it under artistic liberty. Yeah, I mean, I think there is an explanation, whether or not I know that exact explanation. The fact that I can match a circle to this and it more or less matches the curve means that there's probably a world in which this would be accurate, right? Now, does it look a little wonky? Sure. But there's probably, you know, maybe we're really close to the planet and this is just, you know, a circular thing. It isn't actually the curvature of the planet, but this is more of... This is just as far as we can see, right? I don't know. Magic. Magic is what's happening. And here... It looks believable. That's good. I'm not sure how believable it actually looks, but I appreciate your oops. I assumed it. You thought it looked a little off, which is why you were calling into question. Because I kind of get it. It kind of looks a little off to me, but I think I mean I did only eyeball it after all, so it's not like it needed to be super duper accurate. There should be little crevices in here of light and dark. Is there? There is a lead in here. Only when you flipped it? Wait, did I flip it? I didn't know that I flipped it. Wait, when did I flip it? Now I'm confused. You said I flipped it. Oh, like this. I didn't know that I flipped it. Or like this. Yeah. I mean, this contour line might be throwing us off because we kind of have like a line here that sort of looks like a contour line going down the middle. And if this image isn't in the middle, like if hypothetically, if this is over here or something, then that contour line might look funny. Viewing the planet. I mean, yeah. I mean, what is bottom up on a planet, right? I don't know if planets have a top side. I mean, I guess if it's tidally locked to the sun, then... No, even then. You would... It's all relative to where you would be standing on the planet. So, I don't know that planets would have a bottom side. This just happens to be the side that we're focused on. The top view is kind of arbitrary. Yeah, exactly. There is no up in space. Yeah. I mean, it's whatever you make it, right? Whatever you set your reference point to. If you, I mean, it's still useful to have that reference point, right? Because that's how you can tell direction. If you're like, hey, throw me east, you know, that was like a whole point. I know a lot. It's a point in a lot of sci-fi, but like the first place I ever heard that was like reading like Ender's Game as like a kid, right? Where that was like the whole thing of like the game, the zero gravity game is like learning to think of something instead of up or down. It's because that doesn't make sense. If you're facing one way, you think down is your feet, but it's not. And so just calling, you know, the enemy's gate is up or whatever, or down, right? And we want to go down. And then that was just the orientation. And it's like, it makes sense, right? You just pick a direction, you label that saying that's going to be our up and that's going to be our down. And then that way you can relate to other people. Hey, go up, go down, go left, go right, right? So, makes sense. The top view, so breaking with that creates interest? What do you mean? Wait, I don't know what you're talking about anymore, Jeff. Sorry, I got confused somewhere in there. Creates interest? What creates interest? You don't know. No, I don't think viewing something like a planet as up or down or whatever, I don't think it has anything to do with like artistic interest. That's just like that was more of like a orientation is arbitrary when you're floating in space. Like we relate down to as the ground beneath our feet, but you can technically spin and yeah. Since the top-down view of a planet is somewhat arbitrary, breaking that with that is an interesting decision. Well, I mean, Yeah, you could imagine that you're laying on your back looking down up at the planet, or you could be on your side. Like it's almost irrelevant how you view that when you're randomly in space, right? You could flip yourself, and I mean that's why like even images of like the Earth, right, from the ISS, to them they were probably more or less facing upright, right? They were just like, you know, whatever they felt comfortable being when they took photos of the Earth, it happened to be upside down compared to how we normally see it. Because, not the ISS, so I'm talking about Artemis, right? So when they take photos of the Earth from Artemis, they're upside down because that's just happens to be the way they were oriented. It wasn't upside down really. They could have thought of themselves upside right side up, they could have been sideways, who cares what they thought of themselves. It's irrelevant, but it's kind of breaking with our intuition that ground is down. Yeah, I think anytime you're in space, right, any sort of space imagery, that's always calls into question, right? Yeah, it's definitely interesting, for sure. That's the point you're trying to make? It's interesting? Yeah, it is. It is interesting. It definitely shifts perspective and makes you think about... I mean, that's why I remember, like, any sort of online discourse around the Artemis missions, I think this came up a lot. People are like, why did they take it upside down? And people are like, you're an... Not, I'm not calling you an idiot, Druff. But, like, there was always somebody in the comments being like, dude, they just took the photo and that's the way that Earth was rotated, like, oriented to them. Like, it's not upside down, right? It's totally normal. It's just we typically are on Earth, and so we don't think about that. And yeah, I think it's cool. But in terms of like this art, I don't see how that like... Like, to me, it almost isn't... I don't understand how that has any sort of, like, how it relates to the art, because, like, this, in theory, could be the bottom or the top or whatever. Like, I'm not really thinking of this as the top. I mean, I guess maybe I am? No, not really. I hadn't even thought about what is the North Pole or whatever, right? I haven't thought about that. I've had no, you know, like, is this line cutting across, like, is the planet on a, you know, on a 23.5 degree tilt like Earth, and this line is that line? So it would actually be like this? I don't know. I haven't thought about that, to be honest. We could, just for, you know, consistency's sake, we could make this tilted. And so this is the tilt line right here. This line here is tilted at that angle, so we're kind of viewing on its side right now. But, you know, even that is arbitrary because it depends on where you are rotated. And so 23.5 degrees in relation to what? But yeah. Definitely stuff to think about it. Don't know if it helps us with world building, though. It might, I guess. But then the sun would be down. Sure. Yeah. Yep, you could have the sun be down. I mean, the sun goes all around us, right? On Earth, so now the sun is top. I'm imagining the sun being over here. So it's to the right, I guess, of this image. So now the sun is top right. Yeah, top right. Yep. Right now the sun is top right of the image. Correct. And if we rotate it, the sun would be below. But, like, I mean, even in real life, right, we don't really think of the sun being above. I mean, I guess we do think of it being above us, but, like, when it's night, it's obviously below you because it's presumably lighting the others, not really below you, but, like, it's lighting the other side of the planet, right? So it's kind of, sort of, you could think of it, I guess, as below you, but that's not really... I mean, it more or less is the same angle away from you because you're so far away on such a small speck of rock that, like, whether you're rotated away or towards it, it's more or less going to be the same angle away from you. It's just passing through the planet. If we were closer, right? If we were closer to the sun. Sorry, if I'm confusing anyone, the point I'm making is, like, if you're out here, it doesn't really matter if you're on this side of the planet or this side. You're pretty much at the same angle to the sun no matter where you are, right? You're not, like, it's never really, like, yes, if you're on this side of the planet, it's above you because you're facing this way, and if you're on this side of the planet, right, if you're up here, it's below you, but, like, it's always more or less the same no matter where you are on the planet, because the planet's so freaking far away from the sun that, like, the angle is insignificant, right? Like, the difference between that angle or that angle, again, this is, like, not to scale, but, like, that's not going to make a difference because it's even more extreme than that, right? It's going to be like this. Or whatever. So, anyway, that's my understanding of it. So, like, I don't think... But yeah, it would be... Your orientation, you would think of it as, you know... If you were here on the planet, right, it would be to the side of you. If you were here on the planet, feet facing inward, right, it would be to the left of you. If you were on this side of the planet, it would be below you. Anyway, you get the point. But from an orbital perspective, I think it makes sense to have the orbit more or less horizontal. This is usually how we view it. Horizontal. I don't really know what you mean. I mean, yeah, I think I would orient the map this way. I think if I posted this on Instagram or something and posted this way, this does feel, right? Feels upside down because this is just not typically how we view imagery. Like, I don't know why. We like our horizon to be above us, right? We like it to be up here. You know, yeah, I think it does just feel more natural because we see more images, like, not like this. So yeah, this feels upside down, if that's what you're saying. Even though there's no reason it would be. Just like if you saw an image of Earth and it looked like this, you'd be like, why is it upside down? But it wouldn't be. Now, when I'm drawing it, when I'm painting this, a lot of the reason that, like, I would be painting it one way is because I want to keep my perspective consistent. Like, if I'm trying to draw these things, right, and these ellipses are getting thinner, right, and these are more circular. Also, we can clearly see a bit of an angle, right, like here. We can see this is looking more downward, this is more looking across a plane. I want to keep my perspective similar so that I can actually draw these things consistently. So flipping it is weird to me because now it's like I'm drawing it upside down. If that's what you mean. So, like, yeah, from a drawing point of view, this is upside down because I'm trying to draw the top of an object. Right? From a planetary view, this is not upside down. But again, this is the top of these stones, right? Like, yeah, it just depends on what we're talking about. Because, I mean, it would be stupid if you're like, why are you up on your roof? Right? And someone is like, well, technically, I'm not on the top of it. I'm on the bottom of it, right? It's like, because it's rotated in space. And, like, nobody would say that because that's just absurd. But you could make that argument that, like, technically you're upside down, right? Like... it just wouldn't make any sense of, like, why you wouldn't use that perspective when talking about somebody being on their roof, or, you know, I'm on the top of my roof, I'm on the bottom of the planet. I know that's not what you're saying, but yeah, so, like, I am drawing the tops of these stones, so it just makes sense for me to orient it that way, because I don't see why I wouldn't. I think making these look like little waves in the sand would be cool. Again, it's going to be a little bit loose, but that's okay. Okay, I'm trying to think about how much detail do I put here. I think it's okay if I go pretty detailed, actually. Little sand dunes. I meant if the planet were lit from below when the planet is tidally locked, the orbit would be vertical. The way it is now, the orbit would be horizontal because the sun is right. Can you make that assumption? Or is that an assumption at all? I don't. Maybe that's right. If we have our planet here, sorry, I'm just thinking through this to see if if I feel like this tracks. So if we have our planet here, and we have the sun, say, here, not to scale, we technically don't know, right? We don't know if the thing is going this way or this way, right? We don't, like, it could be going up, it could be going down, it could be going around this way, right? I think from a still image, we would never know, right? There's no reason to know. All we know is that the sun is, in this moment, over here. But we don't know which direction the planetary body's going, right? So we can't really say... Is that what you're saying? Are you saying all... But we do know it's rotating this way? Oh, is that what you're saying? The orbit. Oh, sorry, the... Not the sun's orbit, but the... Oh, you mean the rotation of the planet. Oh, okay, I think I get what you're saying. So you're saying the rotation of the rotation or the orbit? Are those are different, right? I think it's fair to assume that the rotation would be this way, right? It would go around the planet this way, right? Because it has to be locked to the sun. We don't know if the whole body... We don't know if the whole body is orbiting the sun that way, or this way, or this other way, or back behind this way, right? We don't really know. But we probably can assume, I think, that this orbit going around this way, or not orbit, rotation. Is that what do you call that an orbit? I don't even know. I think it's rotation, right? But yeah, because all we know is that, like, the dark side is always facing, right? This dark side will always be facing away. And so we can assume that it has to be rotating perpendicular to the sun. Because this side is always in light. So, I think that's the only assumption we can make, is that wherever the sun is, perpendicular to it is the rotation. Is that what you were saying? That might be what you were saying. So, like, if the sun is over here, then it would be rotating this way. But we don't know which way it's orbiting. I don't even... Did you call rotational like this or an orbit? I actually don't think so, right? Like a spin. This is the spin of the planet. I think we could Yeah, I think this is roughly... I mean, when I drew this line, I was imagining this as, like, that rotational line, but it's probably not. Orbit is how an object moves around its parent object. Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't think that I would call this an orbit. This would be the rotation. But yeah, I don't think we can say anything about the orbit, but we can say something about the rotation. And we don't know if it's rotating this way or this way, right? We do know that it's rotating because we've defined it as rotating, right? Because we've defined it as locked. But it could be going either way. So there are knowns and there are unknowns based on what we've drawn. I'm just drawing some lines here, because I think they look cool. But what is known about unknowns and the unknown unknowns? True. The known unknowns and the unknown unknowns. Yep. Yes. There are a lot of those. We actually talked about some of the known unknowns, like the different types of magic systems that we will have. I know I want multiples, but I don't know how many. I don't know what they're going to be, and I don't know how it's going to work. We haven't figured it out, so they're the known unknowns. But then, the reason I don't want to get into it too soon is because I know that there will be things that we discover and come up with based on our future paintings that haven't started and don't know what I'm going to do with them, right? Things that will inspire more lines of thinking and problems to be solved. Like, I'm just going to say those for another day. Those are the unknown unknowns. I don't know what they are. We'll tackle those when we discover them, and we will probably surprise ourselves. But, so yeah, we have those in our design process. Definitely. But right now, this is this. And then we can continue our world map, and we will keep painting on it. Is this too pink? That's probably too pink. There. This'll work. That's location number 1 on our map. The rest of it, again, all of this is subject to change. I'm just kind of building out, I'm going to try to make things sort of make sense. So, like, maybe if this is a tree line, there's a desert and there's some sparse trees in the desert. But I can, as I paint in it, I'll make stuff make more sense. Maybe there's a river here. I don't know. No, in the desert? That doesn't make sense. Maybe there's a little peninsula thing. Not a peninsula. That's not the word I'm looking for. But, like, all of this, like, if we wanted, like, a purple energy flowing into the water, we could do that. Like, who knows where this is going to take us. So I don't want to spread out too much. I think next stream, I will just pick a random location. Could be desert, could be islands, could be mountains, whatever. Doesn't have to be anything in particular. If we have a biome that's... I do think I want to keep it fairly, like, naturalistic at first. So, like, plains, that kind of thing, like mountains, forests, swamps. Maybe not swamps, but, like, any sort of natural type of, geology, like a location on Earth, right? Any sort of geological location. It could be really anything. It could be in the middle of the ocean. Doesn't really matter. I think as long as I pick a spot that's kind of normal, and then if I make something really weird out of it, we can add that to the map, right? If we wanted, like, an oasis, for example, obviously there's no body of water right now in the middle of the desert, so we could add an oasis. So somewhere in here we could put some water, or we could add, if we want a little copse of trees or a little grove, whatever, we could add a little grove in the desert. whatever sort of fits, right, our painting. So we're kind of making the map based on our random paintings, and then hopefully as I add locations, like if I add like a town on the river, right, but it's in the light or something, or maybe it's on the edge of the volcano and I add a town here and here, then maybe I start filling in the gaps. What are you building towards? A series of paintings? Yeah, basically just a series of paintings that all are sort of have their icons on a map. That's basically it. I just want to do something to where all of the paintings that I make will sort of tie together in some way, even if it's just a loose way of just like here they are on a map. And maybe like in the future I will make it like an interactive thing where like, you know, it'll be on a website, and if you click on one of these it will take you to the location, and maybe there will be a blurb about it or something. That's about as far as I've got in terms of what am I building. I have no idea, but it'd be kind of fun to sort of over time fill out this thing, add some stuff. Maybe I add some, you know, I type up a bit of like backstory to this place, and as I add the backstory, right, that starts pushing out the concepts and then the world, and then, you know, stuff happens, and pretty soon you have something, I don't know, like a world for a story to take place. What it is, I don't know. Will the boots and the hats and the belts come back? Maybe the Wild West witches will make a comeback, and you have the, you know, the nomadic water people who travel from the light lands to the dark lands are the boots, because they're the travelers, and then you have the mountain people stuck up here are the belts. Maybe this is the world of the Wild West witches, and we are discovering their magic sources and their monuments and land formations as, yeah, maybe it's possible. For those who don't know, the Wild West Witches was a little mini, and a couple years ago was like a world building project, and so we sort of had like 4 Harry Potter houses, kind of, and each of them sort of had their traits of like what they represented. We had like, they all had like cowboy themed like iconography. So we had like the hats, which were like the knowledge people. And then you had the boots, which were like the travelers, and you had the buckles, which were the sort of the mountain people, sort of rooted in place, living in the mountains, sort of, you know, unmoving like a mountain. And then we had the lassos, which were like the sort of the wild people, not the wild people, but like the, I don't know. They lived in like the jungle or the forest, but they were a little bit more like the hunters, I guess. And it was fun. It was a fun little project to think about that stuff, and we had a bunch of art. Actually, I think we still have the website up. Although I think some of the art isn't there. Let's see. Is this still a thing? It may not be a thing anymore. Oh yeah, it's still there. So yeah, we had this. We haven't added to it in a long time. But yeah, we had art. Community made art. There's like a thing I made, buckling. A little. We had like our places. We had some art by various people in the community. Different characters. These are some buckle people, and then we had like the lassos. Are again they were supposed to be like magical and a little bit more like wild and sort of, yeah. And then we had some designs for different things. The boots, the like here's this is one I made. I like nomadic, riding on the sea turtles. They're just kind of going with the flow. They're the travelers, and they're nomadic. Yeah, we had a bunch of art, and then we were getting into like which like creatures. What would the creatures of different types be? You know, the dragons riding is probably the lassos, so they had dragons. You had different kind of creatures, and so if you want to do like creature designs, but I don't think this is all of it. I think we missed a lot of art. But yeah, like character design of what designs would be. Anyway, it's kind of fun. Yeah, it was a fun little community project. So that was a couple years ago. I don't even know how long ago now. But will that make a comeback though? I don't know. It could be. It could be on this world. There's no reason it isn't. It's very similar in terms of like magic, I guess. Thanks for the discussions. Yeah, no problem. Oh, Alfred said earlier, this stream is more of a galactic discussion. I don't know if you saw my comment earlier, but for inspiration, I think Earth as art might be inspiration for the ground textures. Earth as art. But for inspiration, I think Earth as art for the ground textures. Let me Google that. I don't know what that is. Earth as art. Like this stuff? Is that what we're looking at? I'm also seeing a lot of random garbage AI crap, which I don't like, but that stuff's kind of neat. Satellite images of texture. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of stuff like this. Yeah, definitely useful to like see how things are in different shapes, and yeah, it'll definitely be good for like patterns of like, you know, these big shapes and small shapes and sort of making things look kind of naturalistic. I'm not gonna go super detailed, I don't think. I'll probably stay pretty like I'll add detail in as I define things. So like if I know for a fact there's gonna be a village here, I will probably add like these lines. I can go in sort of high definition and start, you know, adding in the sand dunes, and you know, if I know that there's like, if this thing can be seen from the village and I know that there's roads, maybe I'll start carving out where those roads are, right? But like if I don't know what's out here, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to add detail because yeah, that it's all subject to change, right? Um, you know, I might make pieces in the future where like this is in the background, right? So like maybe there will be a piece here where there's like, imagine there's floating islands back here, right? Well, that would imply that within range of here, maybe there's floating islands back here, right? And you can see them off in the distance. Well, then it might make sense that I can add this stuff because you can kind of see that there's not a whole lot, but there's some mountains back here, so maybe I know there's mountains over here. But like that's not in here yet, and I haven't made it that far to like try to start piecing things together. But I suspect I will. And I'm okay with like, you know, making, I don't think the art has to come first. You know, if I get a really cool idea, like, you know, what if there was a big vortex in here of swirling water that came in from the side, and like if this is something I wanted to paint, I could just go and paint it and then add it there, right? Like I don't have to make the environment first and then find a spot for it, but I'm happy to do it either way. Because sometimes the idea will happen first, where like the like sometimes the idea will happen before I paint, and sometimes it'll happen while I paint, and I'm perfectly okay with doing either. But anyway, I think I'm gonna end stream. Maybe I'm getting kind of tired, and I don't really want to. I don't really have much more to work on this. I mean, we had good discussions. I liked it. Good discussions. Got some ideas bouncing around in the old noggin. For sure. I could probably go more detailed on this, but I think this kind of thing, yeah, I'm okay with it being loose. Random like churchy sounding music, choir stuff. Not typically the music I would listen to. Just drawing some lines in here. Again, might be too detailed, but it's mostly just for texture and to help my brain kind of start to understand what it is I'm looking at. Of course, there can be... These don't all have to be this stuff, right? We could add little little rocks. But again, I don't want to get too much into that because this stuff we can decide. Again, I don't want to add like a monument or something or like big towers and stuff because that's going to make it feel like it's a location. And we just aren't there yet. We gotta... So yeah, I'm just going to save that and call that one good. Is the dark side all water? Nope, I don't think so. I don't think it's all water. We're gonna have forests in here. We're gonna have different stuff. I'm thinking the forest though, because green and like the little bit that I do know about, trees is that the green and like photosynthesis and all that, and the what do you call it? The chlorophyll is like what I think facilitates photosynthesis mostly. Maybe there's I know some plants are not green. There are like white plants and stuff that I don't exactly know how they work. But I don't think we need a bunch of green plants. I'm thinking like energy, magic, things that like are around these sort of, magic wellspring type things. So maybe like purple forests and stuff like that. But I don't really want to add those in yet because I want to make art for it. So I want to because it's not a thing that we typically would see, right? I think it's okay to be like, hey, there's forest here, and you don't have to have a picture of it because it's just a forest, and we have that on Earth. But once you get into things like purple trees, I think that's like interesting enough that I want it to be a thing. I don't know. I could probably add it on the map without it, but yeah, things like little groves of... There's no reason there can't be forests and stuff in here. Deserts even. But yeah, also some icy stuff. Maybe there's some big old patches of ice that are out here floating in the water. Or not floating, but, just on the land, but above the water. Yeah, I don't know. We could have all sorts of things. Joe is now entering a 10-year project on this day. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, it could be the case that I just keep on painting. I mean, if I paint as much as I paint already, right, and I have tons of files, and imagine every one of these was a location on the map. Now, they weren't all made for that, but this being a location on the map, I will say a lot of these paintings, though, that I've done, the reason I don't like them that much is because there is no, where is it? Is this on the edge of, a river? We could add every single... In theory, we could go back and add these, right? We could add all of these and all other 600 of them, because this starts at... Those of you who are a keen observer, this starts at 747. I have 746 of them on a hard drive, so I have, this is only, 200. I have 600 more, 700 more, not here, right? So I have a lot more than this. So yeah, I could definitely go back and add some, right? But a lot of them I just, like this, for example, there's no... I didn't have any plan of how do I connect this lore of what's happening in this image, giant statues. I feel like one of the things that makes me excited about a project is that everything you do builds, either it starts a new thread where it builds on its own idea, or it builds on an old idea, right? Trying to just randomly, I mean, kind of like Siren said earlier, what if you just add a giant tree? I kind of want to be able to justify, why. Now, if I just decide to paint a giant tree, tomorrow, that's fine. But probably as I'm painting it, I'll have ideas of, is this tree in the forest or is it in the desert? If it's in the forest, or maybe it's coming out of the water, and maybe it's sucking up the energy, so it's glowing. And then I could be oh, great, here's this glowy wellspring, here's the giant tree, and, now it kind of makes sense because we have some lore to sort of tie it in. right? And going back in time to a lot of these old paintings, I'm not sure how I would fit them in. And I think I would... And that's... Yeah, exactly. And that's why it can grow so big, right? And there's stuff like that where you're justifying it with the knowledge that you have about the world. But when you're doing stuff like this, I feel like I'm having to make too much up random crap, and I don't think I'm going to be able to track it. Like, it's going to be too many segmented random things, right? Like, why now do we have random people with swords? I don't know. I haven't even thought about that, right? Like, I feel like that needs some ground up building and not... This feels way too top down for my liking. I don't think I can track, 1,000 top-down painting and trying to backfill the lore. That's just, but like once I've just established, for example, that we have, say, humans, and humans are like us and they like to just do human things, like I could add this painting, right? Just a random rocky environment, people rock climbing, on this giant ledge because they're chilling and they're doing things. If we've decided that this is a thing that humans are doing, but then we have this, right? Okay, here's a giant building. Oh crap, now we've got to add that in, right? And like, also, do we even have a plains like this? I don't know, maybe we could design one. But it could get a little bit chaotic to try and do it. I don't know. I'm okay with searching through, though. If I find anything, and I've mentioned this last stream, you can edit those paintings. Oh, I totally can. Yeah, for sure. And I mentioned this last stream, but I sort of want to start a little generic. So I'm starting with the more like foundational concepts, like here's a waterfall, but it's of the magic that we've just discussed. Or here is a, here's something or other, right? Some of these aren't going to work. Hey, it's an Ike raid! Hold on to my butts. My butts are being held on to. But yeah, so I think I want to start a little generic in that, because then I can sort of fill in the gaps and build out. That way I can feel like as we have more complicated lore, we can get more nuanced and complicated paintings. But to take a painting that is just like a thing that is existing... Holy crap, we're getting 2 raids at once. A double raid. Was this planned? Did you guys plan the raid? Welcome in, Ike. Welcome in, Kiratissa. How's the painting today? Oh gosh, painting's good. I'm gonna sound like a broken record at some point today, and just in the future with like talking about this thing. But I've just started like a mini project. No, where I'm just starting a project where I'm making a map, and I'm gonna slowly add features to the map based on the paintings that I make. So next stream I will make another painting. And then at some point, maybe the next stream after that, I will add it to the map. And then right now we have, Fantasy World, exactly. And that's kind of what I've been doing. Right now, we only have one location on our map. Technically, I have other stuff on the map, but it's all just like generic stuff that can change. Think of it as like the Fog of War. So yeah, this is like the Fog of War in their map. We don't really know what's out here. We have some vague ideas of like concepts that we've been noodling around with, of like energy thingies in the earth, but like we don't really know. This is the only one that for sure we have a desert. We know that our planet is tidally locked. Anyway, there's just stuff about our planet, not super important, but that's kind of what I've been working on. And next stream, I was actually saying I was probably going to end, but next stream is going to just be more environment painting, coming up with ideas, places to add. But anyway, Curatus and Ike, how was your guys' stream? If you guys don't know, Ike was just doing a study stream, but Ike has been, he has this comic. He's been doing that. Ike, how's the comic been coming along, by the way? It's very cool stuff, great art. And if you guys don't know Kiratissa does goldsmithing, making all sorts of thingamabobs and whatchamacallits, movable, mechanical things. A little bit of jewelry, little bit of fidgety stuff, just awesome things. It's super cool and inspiring. Both of you should share off your art tax. Share your art. Oh dear, my speaker switched off right on the raid. Oh, that's a shame. Good, good. Over half of chapter 1 is complete. Nice. And the script for chapter 2 is finished as well. Oh, that's awesome. Kiritissa says, I have started a new kinetic pendant. That's the best way to describe it. Kinetic pendant. Sorry. Calling them whatchamacallits and doodads, or whatever I call them, is probably not a very good thing to call them. No, yes. Kinetic pendant. So pendants with movable parts. So spinning parts, swirling parts, sliding parts, twisty parts, all sorts of parts that move. Anyway, it's super cool. I genuinely get super excited when I see Kiritissa's work because it's so different than what I would normally like. Because I'm a painter and a drawer, so I don't know much about like the craft and the skill and the art of the pendant making, but it's yeah, it's very cool. It's always very inspiring, and I do like I've mentioned this before when Kiritissa has rated, but there's these videos of just like mechanical things moving, like making like cycles of random things. I don't know what you call them. It's like movable mechanical things. There's videos on YouTube of just like moving mechanisms, and they're so fascinating, and I love them. And I feel like she makes those things into art, and it's awesome. Anyway, so yeah. Anyway, if you guys want to drop links, Ike, if you'd like to drop a link to your work, feel free. And Kiritissa, if you'd like to drop a link to your work, feel free. But yeah, you guys should totally... I'll give both of you guys a shout out. So, slash shout out IkeMan5000. Did that even work? Yes, that worked. Okay, there's Ike's shout out. You can click the link, follow him. I will give Kiritissa a shout out in just a moment. But yeah, welcome in everybody. I'm trying to keep my excitement for this thing that I'm working on a little bit tempered, because I have this tendency to like... Do you guys do this when you're... I probably would know more about this than anyone maybe at the moment in here. I don't know. Maybe that's not true. I don't know. I don't know what all of you have done. But Ike, do you find that like talking about your projects and like hyping them up and talking about them almost as if like... Not as if they're complete, but like the more you talk about the thing, the more it feels finished and like you lose steam. Does that happen to you? The bin of shame of unfinished project. Well, it's not just unfinished, but like talking about it before it's completed. Like you get that like rush of like feel good energy of like, oh, but it's like it's not a thing yet, and so it's almost like burns you out because you get all the feel goodness from just talking about it and not actually having to do the work. And like I'm afraid of that happening. So like I kind of don't want to talk about it that much because I want to keep that excitement and the energy to actually make the work and not to like expend that energy. I don't know if it sounds stupid, but I think this is a real thing. And I think it happens where people sort of get all of that energy from like talking about their idea without actually making it, and then they have to make it and it's like, oh, it's so hard. And also it doesn't feel as good as when I just talk about it, and so it's easier. It's like you get all of the excitement from talking about it and none of it from making it, and then when you make it, you're not really getting anything extra because you've already talked about it. And so I do want to like tamp down my own excitement and use that to actually make the stuff. But we are actually starting, so yeah. Anyway, that's what we're working on there. It's definitely a real thing. Yeah, I think it is. It sounds a little like, I feel like maybe to someone who hasn't experienced that in any part, it would sound a little like made up. It almost sounds like some woo-woo sciencey like fake thing where like, oh yeah, you're I don't know, it almost sounds fake, but I think it is a very real thing where you can burn yourself out just from like talking about the thing too much because you're getting the reward without actually doing the work, and then the work feels like a chore, and then it's not fun. Then you lose interest, and then you want to go talk. I mean, actually, I do this with just like designing stuff, right? Where you you think through the thing and you put some of it on the page. Ignore what all this is. You put some of it on the page and you... But then when it comes to rendering, I lose steam because, like, to me, it's already finished. Like, the idea in my head is conceived enough that now rendering is just a chore. It's just busy work because it's finished. Like, in my head, I've designed it. I've planned it. The fun part is done. And now it's just, gotta finish it. And so, like, I've never... To me, the excitement doesn't really come from sharing the thing, like sharing the finished. It really does feel like it's the process of developing the ideas. And I happen to do it visually, but like there is a stage where it's just rendering. It's a thing even for non-art things, like when you announce that you're committing to a new habit. True. Yeah, you get all excited for, I'm going to be active, I'm going to jog every day. You go on Amazon, you buy jogging pants and shoes and all the stuff. You got your sweatband, right? And then you never use them because the excitement, you just had your moment. You did the thing that was exciting, which was the planning, the prepping, but the doing it sucks. So yeah, you burn your, it's like you just, oh, nope, that steam goes away. Yeah, I totally get that. Okay, we've got some art to share. Ooh, okay, so Curatis's Instagram. Oh wait, hold on, let me share Ike's first, because Ike rated first. Okay, art taxes, here we go. Here's Ike's work studies from today. Awesome, I love this. Also, I really like this, where like you're using your knowledge of anatomy to superimpose on a reference. So like, yeah, I love this stuff because it's combining your existing knowledge with potentially new knowledge, right? And that's super cool. Can you guys see this? Yeah. Great work. And then we have more art from Ike. Part 2. Wait, did you do all of these today? This is super cool. Man, you make some great skeleton poses. Like, these are so well done. I mean, I obviously can't judge the skeleton because I don't know anatomy very well, but they look great. Yeah, these are super well done. You did 3 hours worth of bone studies, but I didn't want to spam you with too many links. Nice. Well, these are great. I love this stuff. Very, very nice. So yeah, that's Ike. If you want to follow Ike, go follow Ike. And now, shout out Cure... I don't know why I always struggle with spelling your name. Curatissa. Okay, we're going to look at Curatis's work. Did I type your name wrong? No, that's the right one. Okay, perfect. And then Curatis's work. Oh, it is a bear trap. Amazing. Oh, that's so fun. That's great. It's like a little bear trap with a ring. I mean, it's not even... Oh, dang, that thing's sensitive. Even a piece of paper will trigger it. That's great. I love that. But yeah, so Curatissa does all sorts of amazing little things like this. Well, this is a ring. So this is not a kinetic thingamabob. Oh, that's so cute. The bandages on the fingers telling a story. Oh, did I miss it? Bandages on the fingers? That's funny. Wait, I don't... Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's actually hilarious. Yeah, but yeah, she does tons of stuff like this, like little spinny things, and there's all sorts of like movable. Here, this is a good example. This is the process of making them, but like you'll see it here in the end. Parts that move. I don't know, just so much cool work. Like this. See how it's moving, but it has like things that slide as it spins. So she spins it, but it also goes up and down. Anyway, very cool. I love this stuff. That's Silver Sword. It's super cool. Hold on. I'm looking for... Does this one spin? Also, I should be liking these as I watch them. But yeah, just tons of cool stuff. You should, and she does it on stream, obviously. You guys should watch. It's very cool, very inspiring. I love this stuff. It's great. If I could follow again, I would follow again. I should just go and like all the things I just watched. But yeah, super well made stuff. Like, just gorgeous jewelry. And I love that most of it has like the movement to it. It looks like you've been doing a lot of non-moving stuff too. Did you get more into like jewelry lately? Making an engagement ring is always a special moment. Would you choose this one as yours? So I assume this is a commission. Or not. Is this a commission? These are super cool. Gorgeous. But yeah, very cool stuff. Anyway. I don't know how much more I can say that. Okay, back to ending stream. I'm ending stream, but thank you guys so much for being here. I think there was one more link that I didn't look at it from somebody. Headless Ink. Did you share some art? Oh no, that you shared Curatis's stuff. Ooh, this is neat. Look at this. Ooh, this might be one of my favorites. This is so cool. Okay, that might be one of my favorites. I haven't seen this one. It's like a little butterfly, and when you spin it, it flaps its wings. And it's made out of little gears and stuff. This is so cool. Okay, now I've got to ask. Oh. I have been learning a lot of new skills, like stone setting and engraving, so I've been making non-movable things. Nice. Now I've got to ask, do you get all these little, like, gears and things? Do you just, like, do you have a place that you buy them at, or do you kind of just collect them, or a little bit of both, or, like... I mean, I imagine if you found a little thing, you would just keep it, because you could probably use it, but, like... I assume that you have a place that you buy all this stuff at, right? Like, where do you even find all these little random things? Like, I don't... I mean, or do you make... I mean, you're not making all of the gears and stuff, right? I assume you're obviously not. I mean, I shouldn't say obvious, because I have no idea. But I assume you're getting those somewhere, and then you're using those as parts. But obviously, you're making a lot of the stuff. Like, all of the casing and housing for all that stuff. Those were sent to you by a watchmaker master who also streams here on Twitch. For him, it's trash that needs to be thrown out. Gotcha, okay. That makes sense. That's super cool. Because, yeah, it's like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Like I think a lot of the stuff that I've seen you make has obviously been from just, like, you know, wire, right? Like, copper, whatever kind of wire that you use, right? Like, this kind of thing. This, I feel like I have some understanding of the process, but, like, when you're starting with gears and other things, like, you have to acquire those somehow. Yeah, this is sort of the process that I'm more familiar with, right? Wires and sheet, yeah. That makes sense. Anyway, very, very cool. I'm always so blown away by the work you do. So yeah, I think next stream, I feel like I want to make like a foresty area or something, because although we might do like a purple forest and like it's fused with magic. That's a thing. I definitely want this world to have like, because these rivers are going to be like magical rivers, or maybe not all of it. Maybe there's water, but then there's like magic currents where like the stuff flows into the river. Oops, stuff will flow into the rivers and all like streams of little magic energy, and also little geysers of magic and stuff. And then yeah, so we're gonna build out the world. But yeah, next stream will be another environment, and we'll do our thumbnailing and painting and doodling as usual. But thank you guys so much for being here. It means a lot. You guys are amazing. And does anyone have a recommendation of who to raid? Maybe Curatus or Ike would like to direct the raid. Maybe there's a new person who we can be introduced to. Uh-oh, autoplay. Autoplay Twitch. No. Anthony Wheeler's on. We have Perrin is on. I haven't raided Perrin in a while. Young Khan's on, who we haven't raided in a while. Margot Simone. I think that's... Is that all? We've got a few other people online. Any recommendations that I haven't mentioned? I'm always open to new people. I think, you know what I'm noticing just from looking at this? Even though these two things... Sorry, I'm gonna get sidetracked again. Even though these two things, this and this, are not landmarks, I am gonna have to be careful and not make everything just a little circle. Like, oh, here's a little circular area, here's a little city, here's a little this, and like, I'm gonna want to make shapes that are more interesting, like here's a city in this shape, right? It's gonna come this way or something. And like, because like, you know, not everything is just circles, you know. And that's gonna be something I'm gonna have to like work on, I think. To actively change the shapes and make things interesting shapes with a variety. So yeah, that'll be something. I think for now we're gonna go raid Anthony Wheeler. Maybe. No, we just raided him. Oh, Sir Drakir's on. I like raiding him. He's fun. He streams a good time.
Goofy, I'm Mickey's best lawyer, okay? He wanted me.
Oh, he's watching an animation or something. Yeah, we're gonna go raid Sir Drakir. There we go. Yeah, but thank you guys for hanging out. I stream 3 days a week, Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. I will be working on this project for the foreseeable future. New painting every stream, pretty much. Except maybe on Mondays. Mondays might be the map making Mondays, where we, you know, it's alliteration, so why not? Where we add our locations to the map and talk about stuff. Maybe still we'll do some paintings on Mondays too. I'm thinking in the future it's not going to take that long to add locations to the map. It should only take me 20-30 minutes for a little blob like this. Probably less, but if I'm chatting it might take longer. So, but yeah, it shouldn't take long. But yeah, so pretty much every stream I'm going to be trying to do a new painting, and we'll add it to the map, and yeah, just go from there. And hopefully, you know, 20, 30, 40 streams from now, we will have a world, part of a world, filled out with locations and lore and all the stuff, and it'll be cool. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. Anyway, take care. See y'all. And have a good rest of your day.